How come I've got
that over here?
They were laying on the chair.
Oh yeah, they were on the chair.
We pull up this chair?
Mr. Anderson,
Yes, sir?
if you pay a little closer attention, you know that stuff. You're sitting on the agenda, probably.
He had eye surgery.
Huh?
He's had eye surgery, so he's
Oh,
not-
he's
Yeah.
dead?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, 4 of them this month.
Oh my.
Are you ready to sit down? I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
But now
I
you
can
can see
see.
perfectly,
I can
right?
see.
we're gonna lock in there.
I'm gonna
it's
turn
like-
off my phone.
I can see really good, and it didn't affect this at all.
It's like, somebody started yelling at me. I said, listen, I'm old, I'm not deaf.
there you go.
Still, my wife wouldn't agree with that, but,
Well, I'm old and deaf.
yeah.
Well, I got my ears on.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at me going, no, he's deaf. Oh, okay.
They're pointing, all these finger pointing to
I
me.
told her just tune in when we turn on, and then I'll take it off right after that.
The clock's.
Oh, it's my
Yeah.
wife's birthday.
Well, happy birthday, wife.
She's in Texas at the moment.
So
we
there's
gonna
just,
sing happy birthday?
there's just some lines we're willing to cross. Councilor, I would just really like to commend you on how well you wear green. You're looking dapper today, sir.
Val just wear it every time, it makes it easy.
Yeah.
Don't stand there and agonize over the 2 shirts. I know.
Nice tie.
It's like the Air Force, it's just 2 colors we had, dark blue and light blue.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we keep these meetings to an hour. Hold on a second.
Second?
I move I'll help with the cattle prod.
I'll do a third on that one.
4.5 hours yesterday, Senator.
I knew it was gonna be a bit.
It was chatty.
And some of the reason we went 4.5 hours, some of those people are in this room. Some aren't.
The guy with the hammer and the 2 guys here with the cattle prods, they can keep you busy. Us
I
busy.
could stop giving them coffee in the morning, that might help them fall asleep.
Yeah. Actually, we're all guilty, aren't we?
What?
Some decaf at least.
Good.
Ready?
Thank you.
Yeah, the clock's fast, but that's okay.
The Board of Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show that today is August the 8th, 2018 at 9:00 a.m. We'll get to that, sir. Senator Crowder, would you do the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And I know we will have audience introductions later, but I want to officially welcome Senator Crowder sitting in our commissioner meeting on his way home from a meeting in Denver. So nice to have you here, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you. We are honored. Would you call the roll, Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Flower,
Present?
Commissioner Prince,
Yeah.
Attorney Clint Smith,
Present.
and Deputy Clerk to the Board, Patty Beatty, present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
I got one.
I know on your printed agendas, the land lease to purchase agreement was moved to unfinished business from yesterday. It was not on the posted agenda, so I wanted to make a note of that. Because we were in the midst of that meeting yesterday, or that item of business under new business, Attorney Smith had to leave, so we were able to unfinish that and rolled it into unfinished business today. So that is why it is on the agenda in that location. Audience introductions, Ms. Jackie.
Jackie Bubis for the Sentinel. Claudia Morris.
Dallas Anderson, Airport Board.
Len Legree, Airport Board.
State Senator Larry Crowder.
Nice to have you. Welcome, you guys. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. Appreciate that. I don't believe we have any minutes to approve at this time. Commissioner items from anything since yesterday, gentlemen?
None
Commissioner
here.
Canada?
No.
Commissioner Prince.
Nothing since yesterday.
Nor do I. Attorney items?
Nothing new.
Okay. Do you anticipate an executive session today?
I guess it's gonna depend on whether there are gonna be any legal issues discussed about the contract.
Okay. And just so that we're clear, when we get to that point on the agenda, if any of the commissioners have questions about that, how do we determine if they're legal questions or not? And how do we go about preventing probably me from asking some question or having business asking in public?
Well, if you ask me a question, I start trembling.
Then I
It's
know.
probably a legal question. And maybe we should go, I'll let you know if I
Yeah.
think it's something we should
Okay.
discuss
Okay.
confidentially. I'm gonna have to give you advice on it.
Okay. And again, I ask this in a preventative vein. The terms of the contract should or should not be discussed in public now, or today.
Now, today's the day we talk about it, and,
Okay.
I mean, in general terms, if anybody wants a copy, I guess we could have Brenda
Okay.
print it out quickly.
So the
and
terms,
hopefully-
specific terms today will be made public
Right,
You bet.
during this meeting.
right.
And then, I'm assuming at some point you'll say, you know what, we better deal with that in executive session. Is that
Right,
fair to?
there were some questions that were raised, it was shared with some others ahead of time, and there were some questions, and I can certainly address all those, but I would rather address those privately if they're brought up today,
Okay.
because I have answers for all of them.
So-
You're confident that what you have is fine.
Yes.
We just need to hear what you've got.
Yes, but if those questions want to be asked by the individual that raised them, I can talk to you or answer them all, but I'd rather do that in private.
Okay, and so then my question is this, if that occurs, or we have questions about that, then should we consider executive session prior to voting on the item? That's really what my,
Yeah, and it's gonna be hard for me to say. I think some of the answers are so obvious that it's not really something I need to go into detail on.
They're just general questions.
Yeah, so I guess I'd rather just play it by ear and see where we're at. If I feel uncomfortable, if I think it's going into the arena of confidential legal advice, then I'll advise you of that. But otherwise, I'd rather talk about it as much as we can in open session.
okay, good, all right. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Administrative item, assistant?
I was asking about the DA budget meeting yesterday, and you should have all gotten an email. It's, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it's August 30th at 1 p.m., is that?
The question I had, was that gonna be at the Chaffey County, building by the fairgrounds, or do you know where? I didn't see where it was gonna be.
I thought they said in Fremont, but I'm not sure, and I can verify, double check that.
On that
We
email.
usually have our meetings at the fairground.
What's that?
29.
Is it the 29th? Okay.
Yeah.
See, my memory didn't serve me correctly.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know.
assuming we will get a follow-up confirmation on, because they still had a couple other counties that they were waiting for confirmation on that. I'm hoping, because I'm like you, I asked this morning, I'm not sure where
I
that
just did put where.
Yeah,
I didn't-
and it's
Exactly.
tentative too, she said, because she hadn't heard back.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it.
All right.
Let me have
thank you.
seconds here real quick, since you mentioned meetings, and I think I mentioned yesterday that we are gonna have a Justice Center committee meeting as soon as we get the Park County Development Director and the other representative. Those dates, did I tell you guys what they're considering?
Not that I'm
think
aware
so.
of. They being the Justice Center? committee?
Yeah, the open dates that they can come are considering, and we gotta wait for the guy from the state. And I can tell you what those are. That would probably be good just to have for planning purposes.
Okay, and then while you're looking that up, I would just inform you gentlemen that we did mail the Dola's Ready grant applications back to them today.
Pull up this.
Oh, I do have a tentative Justice Center meeting on August the 22nd at 10 o'clock.
That's the normal one.
Right.
So I'll tell you the options are for a special meeting to get as many as we can here.
And I'm gonna press on while you're looking.
Yeah, go ahead,
quick, 'cause I
I'll-
just wanna say again, we do have public comment, early in the agenda. So when we get to that point, if you have any items you wish to discuss, we will do that. We'll
Okay,
try to
here's the
limit
dates.
that to 10 minutes or so.
The available dates that they're, it depend on, our main guest was 8, 13, 20, 21, and 27. So it'll happen on one of those 4 days, I just gotta get confirmation.
13.
13, 20, 21, and 27 for the presentation by Park County, and it'll include discussion on the county building they built as well as the Broomfield Center that was built several years ago.
And what time frame are you looking at?
That we can talk about when I get, when they can't get here any sooner than 10. So I'm thinking 11 through 1 or 2.
Okay.
Go. I
On the
told you by
21st,
lunch.
we have a CES meeting, so
Yeah. What time is it?
2 o'clock.
All right.
2 to 4,
We'll be
so
done
it has
before
an
that.
tabletop, so. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sounds good.
All
Okay.
right, good. Public comment. Anything for the good of the order? Yes, sir. Please.
Well, I don't want to stand or sit.
No,
Just have a chair if you want to
Either-
face everybody.
either one.
Well,
Whatever you want.
It's
you know,
fine.
Speak
Not-
the
you
county.
know, I'm representing the district. What I try and do is get out and see all the county commissioners on an annual basis. Due to the amount of interim committees I've had in the past, it's been somewhat of a hindrance, but I would like to, this year's been pretty productive. There's a lot of issues in the state that's going on. Some of the things I'm working on right now that would affect Custer County is your DA funding has an imbalance. Your public defenders are fully funded by the state, and your DA is actually, the judicial districts is taxpayer funded. So we're trying to come up with a way to make the parity more even. That's not to say that the counties would be dismissed of their responsibility. What it means is basically we're trying to get more money into the DA's office so they can actually hire people that will stay and have the smaller judicial areas not become a stepping stone for other areas of Metro area. I just recently met with CDHPE on, what we're discovering. There's been a re-regulation on the septic system administration, and I felt that was a little bit over the top what they've done. A lot of it is if a person has to replace it, the cost is almost astronomical if you're looking at people of middle to lower income class. The cost is just too great, and I think what we need to do is continually work with CDHPE, and their stand is almost a blanket type situation for everybody in the state, regardless of where you're at or whatever. Contractors have been putting septic systems in since they were day one, and the engineering costs and everything else that accumulated on this is almost double the cost. Plus, some of the materials they're requiring are coming from other areas. So it's a little bit, that we're in the preliminary talks on how to reform this for rural Colorado that will fit. I don't know if you're aware, but we went through quite a period of time with our landfills with CDHPE on trying to determine how best fits with rural Colorado, smaller populated areas. It's a tough nut to crack, but we continue to make some progress.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I'm just down here to kind of listen to you as to what measures you think at the state level we should be taking to help your county, and I continue to work for the district. I'm in my 6th year. I have 2 years to go, and then I'll be terminal. It'll be somebody else's turn at that point in time. But Custer County is special. It's like a hidden gem that flourishes. I represent 16 counties. And what's ironic about it, 15 of those 16 counties are below the federal poverty level. The only county I represent that's not is Custer County. And it should be a mark of pride for the county on how well we're doing.
Great, thank you.
So, I don't know if there's any questions. I know you got a busy schedule. You had a lot of meetings, and I don't want to take a lot of your time up.
Well, certainly, we appreciate you being here, and we'll take whatever time we need. So, it's not a problem.
You know, you should never tell a politician you have my time.
Well, yeah, I do want to, first of all, thank you for attending our Lincoln Day dinner. That was fun. We enjoyed you and Representative Wilson both being there and your wives, so thank you for your interest in our county.
As a cowman and a former ringman, I get excited on auctions. I just have a ball.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was quite a, actually, it's quite a setting, that historical
Yeah,
area.
isn't that nice?
The Grange Hall. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, it's
You
nice
did a
to-
good job of motivating people to bid, so that helped.
Well, some of your
Pies are pretty good.
Some of your big spenders in the pie auction are sitting in this room.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought too, after that, subsequent to that, I thought, it's nice that a person in your position as a state senator can have fun and not worry about being criticized.
Well, this, Commissioner Prince was talking about his wife. I was asked this morning, I went over here to Willie's to have breakfast, and someone asked me, how do you keep everybody happy? And I said, well, the only person I'm really trying to keep happy is my wife.
There you go.
And I said, if Mama happy, everybody happy. So, but I really interacting with people. I'm a fifth generation Coloradan and lifetime cattleman. So I like people. Yeah, I really do.
Well, there were several comments afterwards that they said that was one of the.
Well, I think I've been around. I think what I would consider a stuff-shirt politician that thinks there's an aura around him, and I'm not comfortable with that. I take my job very serious, make no mistake, but I treat people like I'd like to be treated.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people said that was one of the more fun Lincoln Day dinners we've had in a long time, so thank you for that. The other thing is, and you've alluded to it a little bit with CDPHE, and that's the landfill thing. We have our own landfill here, and we're in the process of trying to get some engineering done and finish permitting the property that we have on there. And so far, as commissioners, we've felt that they've been very good to work with. I've sat in on those meetings at CCI, and it sounds like they're really trying to be more user-friendly and not drop the hammer on everybody, including those small rural counties. So
We have a great relationship with them at the landfill.
Yeah, well, there's other areas that they're actually trying to move into a transfer station type situation.
right.
We don't want that to happen.
Well, the thing about it, some areas it's a benefit. It's just how however you look at it. But it's been, some of the tests they want, water quality, air test, if you're drilling down 100 feet to test the water and the water's 300 feet deep, those type of situations, are of concern to me because the costs get to where it doesn't do any good. So. But
And they recognize that, by the way. They
little
see
common
and
sense
they
in
use
the
their
way.
common sense on that. With us, they have.
And when we met with them at the landfill, that was exactly one of the things we talked about with them, and we appreciated it. I said, hey, if we're not going to drill to the depth of your water, then we're not going to hammer you about water quality above that. They said, we understand. We're not going to drill 300 feet to get the water. But if you don't have a water issue at 100 feet, and that's where we drill, then guess what? We're going to give you the green light. And we just appreciated that. Because I don't think it's always been that way.
Yeah, I met with them yesterday on some issues. We're having a situation in southeastern Colorado where there's uranium has been detected in the drinking water. Well, they have the the Arkansas Frying Pan Project. But in 1962, they set up this situation called the conduit from Pueblo to Lamar. And the reason I brought this up is I'm talking to CHPE, and they indicate that there is a problem with the water there. But all they do is they go as far as testing the water, see what the problem is, and come up with a remedy to fix it. But I'm saying that, we had this conduit project that would take care of that. That has been authorized by Congress. So I think now's the time to get the conduit in. So I'm asking CDHPE, I says, okay, now that you found a problem and how to fix that filtration problem and whatnot, would it not be better in the best interest of people to fix it once and for all? And that's a conduit from Pimple. You know, so what I'd like CDHPE is to think a little bit outside the box, except to where the delivery point of the object is, whether it be drinking water or landfill or septic systems, whatever. You know, you just need to be a little broader because I told them, I says, I realize that you are all metro people, and you probably have, it's probably a rarity that you're ever around a septic tank. So instead of coming up with science that you think, you know, and it very well might have been a situation that happened very remotely, but normally our septic systems do not give us a water quality problem. So to create a situation where that all be engineered, we all want safe water. That's the thing, but we not to the point where it breaks elderly people or people with septic. So we just need to use a little common sense.
That's a real good issue because we even got into it yesterday. Even though we are not a poor county, we are on the edge with a lot of people, and it is cost prohibitive to do change out that.
Yes, it is.
Firsthand. We got a lot of systems that are still 100-gallon tanks in the ground, you know, with rock bed going out.
But I think that, you know, and personally, I think there's contractors around that can design just from their experience.
Absolutely. So any help you can do there is great.
I just don't believe the government should be, you know, that dominating on our pocketbooks to get something that we all want.
I agree.
The audience have any questions for Senator Crowder?
Great audience.
I got a question.
The lady first.
Yeah, we're, there's a private group of us that are working to bring educational opportunity to the county.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that the goal is that the kids of the county come back here with their education and professional knowledge in things like forestry, geology, archaeology, you know, wildlife biology, you know, including the ranching and the farming. So more kids come back home. That's the goal. And where could we tap into at the state level to help us connect in with the educational college system, maybe get some grants for some of the kids that graduate out of our outdoor lab program. Can I get with you at some point down the road here and look into that?
I will tell you what we're trying to do is incentivize exactly what you're doing, but it starts in the high school.
Yes.
You know, by homegrown is the best, and the way it started, basically, we're having a nurse shortage potential in the future, as well as school teachers.
Right.
So if we get into the schools and you know, incentivize those students with grants for higher education, with whatever it takes with stipulations that they come back for a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. But I think homegrown by far is the most acceptable and best pathway to go on anything like what you're talking about. Now, as far as grants and whatnot, I wouldn't know where to tell you to start looking. Okay. But I would start with higher education and ask them, because the program that you just described is pretty well thought of throughout the whole region. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to duck your question. I just simply don't know where.
That's fine.
But I think, you know, your CU would be a good CU, CSU, on how to look at grant situations to incentivize people to come back. Because the reality is the rural Colorado population is decreasing, not at an over alarming rate, but it is decreasing. So if we could get a situation, I like to tell a story about the little girl young lady in BOCC County. Her dad was a dentist. He was the only dentist in BOCC County. Now he's retired, and she's the only dentist in BOCC County. Not only in BOCC County, but the county next door in Kansas. She's the only dentist in that county. And that's a great example of homegrown. Those are the types of people we'd like to maintain and keep in the area. But I think a good way to do it is have your local government, your local doctors, your local whoever to go out to the school and talk to the kids as a group. Say, you know, we're looking at the future of the area. Now, what we think would assist that future of this area is students who would grow up, get educated, and come back and provide services here. I hope that helps you. But everybody's trying to come up with the best way to incentivize homegrown that we can.
Good.
Thank you.
Attorney Smith.
Well, it's just a little while ago, you said you were a cattleman and a ringman.
No, I am.
Oh,
I am a cowman.
Okay, well, I'm a city boy. To me, a ringman is a jeweler. So, what is a ringman?
Well, what you have is you have auctioneers, and the ringman actually gets the cattle in there, but he takes the bids from the audience.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, the auctioneer's watching everything, and the auctioneer's also trying to develop additional bids. But the ringman is kind of the guy that sets the tone, if that makes any sense.
I've seen that. I just didn't know what the term
Yeah.
was.
He actually did that with the pies.
Yeah, well, here's the auctioneer.
If you look at the size and the breadth of this man's fingers, you know he's probably not
Well,
that kind of a ringman.
one of the things we were doing was, if someone would not take a bid, we would offer them additional funding to help get the bid. I'll loan you $5. I'll give you $5.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
On $100 pie, we'll give you another $5. Yeah, thanks for.
You know what? It's a pleasure being here, and I know I've been in 2 days of meetings. I know what you're talking about. I know you got a long day ahead of you, but it's always a pleasure to come, and you know I stand ready to serve in any way I can.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure seeing you all, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you for your service.
Let me have you leave on. You mentioned being a politician. You can believe in whether people believe politicians. I have a young grandson. We got several grandsons. He's 8 years old. We went through and I became a commissioner, and I promised him that we'd go horseback riding. And I finally had to say, today I can't. I got to go to a commissioner's meeting.
Yeah.
And he says, to his dad, says, that's okay, isn't it, Dad? He says, now that the colonel, he calls me the colonel. I said, Grandpa, I'm a retired Air Force.
Well, you are.
Now that the colonel's a commissioner, he can't keep his promises. And it was innocent, and he meant it in that I'm so busy, I gotta, but I'm out the baby.
We don't want that bleeding over here. I'll tell you that.
How long was you in?
30 years.
Wow, that's cool.
Retired colonel.
When did you retire?
05.
Oh, I see. We just had a situation in Grand Junction. I was at a grand opening for Colorado National Guard, One Stop Center.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit.
All those guys are my buddies.
Well, I'm a bit. Well, you know General Lowe?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
You Mike Edwards?
Yes. Yes.
As much as I enjoy you two exchanging pleasantries.
Yeah.
No,
Get on with this meeting.
But the reason I bring it up, I'm a big advocate of Colorado National Guard. Plus, I'm a veteran as well.
Thank you.
I know you're probably wanting to go.
Yeah.
Know that you're more than welcome. Just
Well, I appreciate
stay and
that, but
observe that.
like I said, I just thought I'd stop by and visit with you.
Thank you.
a bit.
Appreciate that.
The worst thing in the world is to be felt like you're forgotten.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Well,
Thanks for coming. Good to have you, sir.
Colonel,
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Thank you.
Now I know what always a pleasure shaking a lawyer's hand. And the press. Madam, good luck.
Thank you, sir.
We said he's our attorney. We didn't say he was a lawyer.
Oh, well,
Is there a difference?
It probably would have been better if I'd actually gone to law school.
Yeah,
Like, no.
yeah.
thank you all
Take
very
care.
much.
Thank you for
Thanks.
stopping.
See you, sir. Other public comment?
That was
Lord
very,
Angie,
that
yes,
was
sir.
very nice. I appreciate it.
That was great.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the thing he's talking about, the CDHP thing, I kind of caught wind of that a couple weeks ago, and it just scares me to death because if I had to replace my septic system, I couldn't do it now.
And you couldn't live in your house.
Well, yeah, you can't live in your house.
And I can't afford to move.
Right.
I couldn't pay rent anywhere.
Terrible
So,
situation.
I'd be camping out here on the lawn.
You know, and there's a big push at the state to make everybody have an engineered system.
No, yeah.
Which, you know,
I
it's
engineered
ridiculous.
my system 3 times bigger and
Yeah.
sturdier than it really needed to be at the time. Fortunately, it's only 15 years old, so I expect another 50 years out of it, if I make 50. Anyway, yeah, just the thought on that
Yeah.
thing.
Scary business. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, it would be classified as unfinished business or not. And it's regarding follow-over probably from the July 5th meeting with the commissioners and, tourism board in regards to, a new person on the board.
Okay,
And I can,
It's not time.
go ahead.
We have a tourism board meeting on, what day is it?
well, we need to change that, I think after we talk today.
This is not really, it needs to go through the tourism board first, and then it comes to the commissioners.
It already was through the tourism board, previously it was pre-approved,
You're talking about a
pre-approved
member
letter of interest that was pre-approved
by,
by the tourism board. It was when Greg was still
Who's
on
the
the council
person?
board at that was Charles Ellis.
Charlie Ellison.
Uh-huh. And, he knows that when he comes in, his term would probably be up at the end of this year. Knowing that, at that time, then he will decide whether to continue on.
Okay.
Are we still looking for people?
Well,
with their letters?
that comes under the new, that comes under the new, and we have to look at it like Jay said, but this is one that was already,
I do remember he
yes,
did put a letter in.
you guys
I remember
already
that.
did that. We, at that time, stated that if an opening came up, he would be the next
Right.
one to come in. So that's where
what I think,
I think it's appropriate, if I may, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, I'm sorry. I think what would be appropriate is for the tourism board to recommend to the BOCC the individuals that they would like to be on the tourism board, and then the 3 commissioners can determine whether that's acceptable or not. Even though there is a letter of interest and intent, I'm very uncomfortable approving anybody without the tourism board itself saying to me, that's who we would like to have as a member of our committee. Mr. Chairman, I hope I'm not
yeah,
overstepping
no,
my
I
bounds.
think you're exactly on point with what I was thinking as well. We're in this time of a little bit of gray area.
So I guess.
You do have a quorum.
Well, I thought we did, but it hadn't been relayed to me. Apparently, I was under this understanding that, Renee was gonna be on full time. And I just found out that she's decided to stay ex officio.
Correct.
So until we have a meeting, Jay's actually on as a voting member, until which time
No.
we have to accept what the board states.
Yeah.
So
I resigned as a voting member when
On the
3 of us
31st.
agreed that none of us would be voting members. So I resigned at that time, at that moment.
Okay.
So I like to visit and discuss, but I am not a member of the committee or a voter.
So that's why I am here, is we do not now have a quorum. With Charlie coming on, which was talked about in more than one tourism board meeting, a letter was given to you from the
Right,
tourism
got
board.
that, yep.
But never-
And it was between the two when you guys discussed that
Okay,
stuff, so.
here's my perspective. I think you do have a quorum. There's 3 of you, on that. Sorry. The minimum membership on that tourism board is 3. You have 2 voting members and 1 ex officio.
Right,
I
that's the
believe
way I
that-
look at it.
I believe that constitutes a quorum.
Great.
What I would suggest, and just following up Commissioner Prince, that you formally submit your recommendation to the BOCC. If you want to do that prior to August 15th, then we can deal with that at our mid-month meeting, and then we can move forward from there. The problem with trying to do it here, excuse me, sir, is that we have to honor our 24-hour notice of business on our agenda, so it would not come under unfinished business.
Okay.
So we would have to put it on new business.
And the only reason I come in is I received a letter, or email from Peggy. I was out all day yesterday, so I didn't get it. The early stating, and, so, you know, things haven't been closed as far as getting acceptance or not, so I was just working on something that we had done. So, the 15th, we'll see what we can do.
Are we not gonna meet early?
Well, I
We're
didn't-
meeting the 9th tomorrow.
Right, I didn't know what the day, was going to bring with you guys.
Okay.
That's my thing, so.
Currently, you're scheduled for a meeting tomorrow at 2
Right,
o'clock.
and with a tentative on the 14th, but, that's your call on that one, Jay.
I would like, well, personally, and I'm not speaking, just concur or don't concur,
Mhm.
I would like to see on the agenda for the 14th, based on a recommendation from the tourism board on who it is that you would like to have to fill vacancies.
Okay,
I was gonna mention to you that Ms. Collins sent in a letter, I wasn't sure you got it, I'm glad you did, so
Mhm.
she needs to be considered appropriately,
okay.
and we'll move forward from that. So I would like to, I think we're out of line here, because it's really not on the agenda, but I'd like to just say as a
Yeah, I
procedure,
didn't know what to do.
let's get, that's fine, that's why we're talking.
From a public comment point.
Yeah,
she's
we're still
okay.
fine.
No, I'm with you, but I don't wanna make tourism decisions at this point.
Right.
So my suggestion is let's continue to have our meeting tomorrow. I said we, the tourism board, and of course it's open to anybody who wants to
Right.
come. It'll be in this room at, what, 2 o'clock? 2? Okay, 2 o'clock tomorrow. And, the tourism board can discuss the filling of vacancies based upon the letters that we received. And then on the 15th, if we could put on the agenda, the BOCC can ratify, alter, or whatever the BOCC chooses to do at that time. Does that make sense,
Yes.
gentlemen?
Yeah, you wouldn't have to be there, you can submit your recommendations to Miss Brenda, and she can
Right.
carry them to the meeting. Because we're gonna meet in San Isabel on the 15th.
Right, I saw that and stuff,
Yeah,
so.
you don't need it. If you don't want to travel, then you don't.
Well, you know, there's pictures I need to take down there so they're represented, so.
Okay. Well, we're certainly not out of line because we're in public comment time, so
Right.
it's a fine, no problem bringing it up at that time, so. Okay, very good, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. First, staff report this morning is Airport Board. We have a couple of gentlemen here, welcome. Mr. Lynn, how are you, sir? Thank you for being here. I know you guys are in flux down there, with your Airport Board.
Good to see you again. Where's your buddy Bob?
Bob is sick, very sick, it sounds like.
I'd like to-
I shall.
We can't have much more.
I know. He said
Health and
he's busy having
sickness
to
and-
hang on to the wall to even more.
Amen.
So,
Well,
since how I got 20 seconds, my report is slim to.
Slim to none? Well.
Things are rolling along out there. About 6 folks. And
okay, yeah, Bill's kind of
engineering, yeah, he's
brought
gonna.
us up to speed a little bit on that, so.
I think we're within budget.
Good, good.
All is well.
Sir, if you don't mind, did the airport submit a report before? Because I don't have it. Did you, Jim?
No, no.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, you mean for today? No.
Yeah, I mean, the gallons and that kind of thing that we normally see.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, that's fine.
because I found out last night that.
You're stepping
I've been
in.
doing that.
Yeah.
And he had the dipstick, didn't he?
Yeah,
Well, any issues with fuel sales?
no.
'Cause that's always one thing. The other thing I wanted to just jump into so I don't forget it, and that is this proposed new card reader. Where do we
Right.
stand with that?
I think it's part of this whole big project.
Is it?
So
Okay.
it's in the process of.
Are we gonna meet the deadline of getting one ordered so we can
Yes.
get that
Oh, yes.
discount?
We're pushing very hard for that.
Yeah, we don't wanna lose the,
No.
what is it, $5,000?
Yeah.
No, and we're kind of going to be out of cycle with some of that, but it's all going to happen. Yeah.
Embryonically, these guys have done a good job. They've got their budgets projected for the next couple of years, and on that was chip sealing the taxiway and chip sealing. And it turns out that I think we're going to go after some grants for those kinds of things anyway, with the Department of Transportation Air, CDOT
Yeah.
aircraft, whatever.
Aviation.
Right. And so that's an opportunity for us to roll it into this bigger picture.
Yeah.
And we possibly can get matching, when it goes to 80-10 or 90-10 kind of splits, we may be able to leverage more help from the six guys as well, because they benefit. So, we're discussing that. That's just discussion. We haven't decided anything yet, but it's kind of a neat opportunity to help these look forward.
Some of that, capital improvement program that we've got several years out is gonna happen.
Sooner.
A little quicker.
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
Has the airport board met with any of the representatives from Lot 6?
No, the only one that they have met with was when Bob and Glenn came down the runway when I was there with the representative.
Since then.
Right, with the engineer and the pilot. He's been sort of their spokesman.
Did you share
Yes.
this with them?
Good. Good.
How's your fuel pricing? We gave you a lot of latitude on that. How do we compare with our surrounding
There
airports?
hasn't been any changes that I'm aware of since last time. We're right there. Yep. They're all holding.
So, how many people were on your board?
Is it 5?
5. You're down to 3.
Yeah.
Are you looking for replacements?
3 or 4.
What happened to Dan?
But,
We had 2 reasons, an untimely death, of course, and then we had
Two.
Two.
Untimely deaths.
Yeah, 2. That's right.
So,
And
I think we're all right for now. But if we get some letters in for some new members, we will have to
Yeah.
ask them.
We're talking about new membership.
looking to see if you had any letters of interest or not.
You're welcome to come forward if you like to.
Pull a chair up next to him.
Okay.
Do that.
Yeah, I guess my question is, if obviously you're down 2, is there a plan from the board to advertise for some additional interest, or how are we gonna get the word out?
If I may.
Sure.
I have missed meetings the last 2 months because of medical issues and I was on vacation. Today was the first day I knew of Johnny being fallen ill. So, but the last I knew, we had 6, and with the demise of Bob Custer, that leaves us with 5 members.
Was it 6 without Alan?
Did somebody?
Well, Alan,
You had Sword, you're down.
So,
I just wondered, do we need to get something in the paper if you are looking for people to serve on your board? We ought to try to get that word out, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we will.
we have a meeting next week.
Yeah.
So,
And I've read your bylaws, but I just don't remember. You don't have to be a pilot to be on your
No.
board, do you?
No.
Okay.
Is there, I'm trying to remember, did I forward you a letter of interest, or did someone send it?
I have not seen
I
one.
think there was one.
Yeah,
Geipel, Mr. Geipel?
Oh, yeah, I bet that's who.
yeah, it might have been.
Bill?
Bill.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, it's not been in the mailbox.
He would be.
Well, I emailed
Email
it
it
to
would
you.
be,
He would be very good.
Did you get a letter from him?
I believe I
I thought
did.
so.
It was a while back, but I believe I did, and I will re-forward it to you. As I'm almost 100% positive, I did forward it to you, but,
So I've been,
she'll find it.
yeah.
in the last 3 days, I've been through 1,000 emails I needed to look at, and
Yeah.
it wasn't in there, so.
Well, just,
Now that you got new eyeballs, you'll be able to see.
Oh, yeah.
He would be good. He's definitely concerned and cares about the
Yeah,
area.
he was on the board before, he served a year and then
As a matter of
resigned.
fact, I think he mentioned
well,
that.
if it's appropriate, if you wanna forward that on, if that's what your board decides to do, you can give that recommendation to Brenda, and she'll talk to the board. Okay, good, okay. Anything else?
Yeah, fuel sales, 765 gallons or so in July, about twice as much as for June, so And last Friday, there was 1,138 gallons in the tank. So if we had a good August and a good half of September, we'll have to reorder again before the end of the year. So.
We'll probably
shut down
coincide
some.
that with the moving of the tank
Right.
sometime in October. Yeah, that's the projected time.
Sorry.
Good, okay.
Sorry, you don't have more, prepped more.
That's okay, sorry, we're good, man.
Not
Dumped
bringing
on
us any
it.
problems, that's
Right.
good.
You don't invent a problem for us.
Yeah, we're not spending money we don't have, and, I mean.
What more can we ask?
You're
right?
here.
Right.
Yeah, you know, my gut feeling is that I'm glad we went the airport board. It seems like you guys are functioning well and not having to come in here for a rubber stamp approval on every little thing, so.
Yep,
It's all
working well.
Good.
Yeah, budget's in shape.
Good, okay, very good, all right, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
I'll start coming.
Slip the surly bonds.
So you're not gonna wear glasses anymore?
I don't have to worry about it, just for reading
Okay, that's impressive.
We'll just stand it, buddy.
Sorry, thanks.
I was waiting to say,
Come in,
thank you.
go.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll take it in.
All right.
The infamous treasurer, good morning.
The famous, not as.
Infamous? What's wrong with that?
Good morning.
Hi, Virginia.
Okay, thank you, and we did get your hard copies. How's things over yonder?
Fine for now.
See y'all.
See you, Carlos, thanks.
Any questions for Miss Virginia?
I have not. If
Do
I got
that.
a copy, I missed it, I apologize, I probably.
I thought she
Did you
just
get
gave
this
a
morning?
second.
Oh, it was this morning.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that's why I was looking for this.
no problem.
I have it.
Huh?
Any surprises, anything unusual,
Yeah, they come out
anything out of the
fairly dark.
ordinary?
No, pretty normal.
Yeah, when you, well, my printer, when I print on my printer, when it's a scanned image. It's read, it's readable.
Let me look.
What,
That's the wrong one.
Pardon?
why are you handing this
Oh,
to me?
I thought I just heard you say, did I not give you a copy?
No, I gave you a copy.
I know. I thought she was just asking right now if you had a
No, I
copy.
was going to ask her, she wanted one like this.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not scanned.
Okay.
That's a good question. On the Upper Arkansas Water Conservation District, how much money do they get on an annual basis, do you know offhand?
No, I sure don't know.
Okay, that's
Look
fine.
at it. It's not much.
Okay. That's fine,
Where they're
I
getting
hit
right
you off the
now.
wall like that, I just thought maybe you knew.
I thought our dues with them were like $5,000 or $6,000.
Well, this isn't hard, this is a collection.
You might be thinking of Colin.
No, I thought I read we were dues to Upper Ark Water.
Not that I don't know, I don't see the vouchers, so I couldn't tell you that. These are collection for
Oh,
taxes.
okay, gotcha.
Not for dues.
Were you asking how much we pay them or how much
How
we
much
get?
collected?
If I'm not mistaken, there's a mill levy to collect money to them. And I was just curious how much that runs a year, and it's fine, I mean, you're not gonna know the balance of every account, I recognize it. Oh, maybe you know off the top of your head.
No, but I can bring it to you.
It's not a big deal, I was just curious. Well, I don't see anything out of the ordinary here, it looks fine to me. Do you need a motion to
I do.
accept it?
Yes.
I'll move that we accept the Custer County Treasurer's Report
I'll second.
from July 1st through July 31st.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the treasurer's report for the month of July. Debate, discussion,
Good
hearing
job.
none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. Report has been accepted. I will sign said document.
Oh, thank you. There's the collection.
They watch, don't they?
Somebody
Always on camera.
pay attention.
And please thank her for that, for bringing this in. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure seeing you.
And that comes out of JD's office at every every year he has a meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Office of Emergency Management.
Morning.
We're gaining. Good morning. How are you?
Good
Morning.
I wouldn't say you looked like a drowned rat last night, but we all
Everybody
we were all subject to that, weren't we?
did. That's right, it was wet and hammered us with a lot of heat.
I wanted to bring Meredith this morning, so she never gets to come.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take vacation next month, so I thought I'd let her come in my place.
This is a great opportunity for her to get function.
Since I, canceled the two, approved the leaves for July.
Good. Well, welcome. Good to have you here.
Better see the drill.
We will treat you nicer than we're going to treat.
Man.
Yeah.
Hard.
It's all good.
Yeah. Good.
Start wearing body armor. I caught up on my report, and the front page is the finance part, which kind of touches on grant and finance, and
I've got it.
I have it.
You have it, and I can.
No, I don't think
okay, as long as you have it. So,
Would you like to?
that's all right. We can.
you need one? There hasn't been a lot of activity on the grants, and so I wrote some talking notes just because I wanted to hit on a couple things and not forget. But the Emergency Management Performance Grant, EMPG, is running behind schedule. It's usually signed and back to the state, and I think in January, you guys made the motion to have Tom sign that. When it comes through, we get it right back. It's behind schedule. We had $36,000 last year. Christie's saying anticipate the same amount. We are actually eligible for more, but we don't know what we're getting. So as soon as that comes in, we get it signed. The first 2 quarter reimbursements are already in and waiting, and it's just their fiscal year, and then they're behind. So I keep watching for that.
Does that mean you used half already?
We've we haven't received anything. So the way this grant works is it's on a good faith basis. You approve the budget effective January 1. Their fiscal year is July 1.
Yep.
They get the paperwork, and then we've already submitted our reimbursements, and usually by this time in August we've gotten reimbursed for Q1 and Q2. We don't even have the grants signed, so it means we may have to start having somebody bang on some doors in Denver if they don't get things rolling. I did hear that Orfano County got a letter back in, I think, March that said they didn't use enough of their 2017 budget, and they're actually cutting back on it. So when I do my budgeting, I was showing Meredith, but we keep a spreadsheet and we try to spend it by the quarter instead of, like making a bunch of purchases in December like other good government employees might do. But we're trying to hit that reimbursement for the quarter, and we can always make adjustments depending on how that comes in. But just so you know, normally we'd have some more money coming in. The deposits year to date, we have $309,000, almost $310. CDPHE, that 319, well, it wasn't a 319, but the Wetmore Greenwood cleanup has been the big chunk of that. And Cocoa has now got permission from the Forest Service to go into South Hardscrabble. I don't know if any of you saw the picture of the debris. That big pile of debris, supposedly about half of that's gone now since the later storms and working their way downhill. So Teresa's working with the contractor. Paul Crispin is one of his final acts before retirement, signed the permission to enter, and it's going to let him do some work, and Public Health wants us to spend up the rest of that money. That grant has to be closed out in October, so I told Teresa she's got to get 2 invoices in, let's get it done, use it or lose it.
Who's replacing Paul? Have they?
They have an interim person named, and Daryl gave me his name the other day, and I didn't know him, but I'm going to have to get that again. And I don't know how long that process will be.
And the acronym CERT?
The acronym for CERT is Citizen Emergency?
Community Emergency Response.
Yeah. So Paul's been running that program. They've got a little bit of money left. We're having a few issues trying to get everybody credentialed and trained, and a lot of the training he runs through that program, people don't want to volunteer later, or we try to feed them into other programs, but there becomes some strings attached on that Citizen Corps program funding through Homeland Security. It used to be its own grant, now it's tied under the Homeland Security grant. So that is CERT, MRC, which is Medical Reserve Corps, and VIPS, which is Volunteers and Police Services, which is our posse. So MRC and posse are getting ready to spend down their funds. And then I did finally get some batteries. I gave up on batteries and they came through, so that was a big surprise. I got them on Thursday. The Ready, Set, Go grant, I've got to buckle down and get done on that one, and I kind of want to run the PILT project parallel, and so my big question on the grant side is, I know Brenda's been working on the new PILT, like looking at how much money we have available and whether we have to give any back. So we published to spend $38,000 in 2017 in March. We published it in, I think it was the Sentinel at that time.
And I think they pushed that date out again.
They pushed another publication date out till the 30th.
Well, I mean, like, when you can spend it by.
Yeah, I know you have to publish in the paper by September 30th, 2018, how you're going to spend it, or you risk losing it. So we already did publish spending some, that $38,000. I've spent $18,500 of that. I think it leaves me $14,500. And I'd like to start working on a project in Corona Verde that would be similar to the Ready, Set, Go and get them both in parallel. But I want to make sure that that's okay with you, or if I need to coordinate with Brenda as the point of contact. I know she's kind of doing the reporting side back to PILT. And so if you want to sit down.
So Corona Verde's got a priority over what?
They have 174 homes out of 500 and some lots, and they're actively working on a community wildfire protection plan. The Sangre de Cristo one has a plan. So I have gotten a little bit of feedback from some other people in the community, and it's, if you're working on your plan, you're working with a forester. Corona Verde even went 18 months ago to the annual wildfire conference. It was in Pueblo about 18 months ago, so they've been really proactive.
Tanglewood has a big problem.
Tanglewood does have a big problem in Tanglewood, and then that Alvarado area around there is where I want to focus the $60,000 Ready, Set, Go. So out of the whole Sangre, I've zeroed in on that area, so those are kind of two different pots of money, but I want to run them parallel and get some vendors set. But yeah. Tanglewood has some more seasonal homeowners, but that whole area.
Well, there's still a lot of residents, but
that,
you don't want it to burn anyway.
What's the other one with all the mailboxes there? I'm trying to remember.
No, that's on the other side.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. So those two together, I thought I'd see if I'm drawing a blank. Alpine. Is it Alpine?
Alpine is the area.
To the left.
They call it.
Okay. So
That's
yeah,
what you mean.
kind of in that whole area. So in tying into that, I'm going to go ask Vernon to print me maps with parcels on both of those. Probably use Code Red, get community messages up, use the permission to enter forms, and then get the bids out with the forms council help me develop. So I just want to make sure I'm good to go to spend that money, and then if we get more money, or if there was money in the past, I don't know how we handle that, but I can coordinate with Brenda if that's okay too.
Yeah, it seems like they've basically just given us permission to spend whatever money we have, and it doesn't matter when we got it or whatever.
And when I started, I was told we had a little over $38,000. I think it was the 15, 16 money, or the 14 and 15 money. I've got it in here. So if there's extra money and Brenda says we have more, then we'll keep working. Yeah, and I don't know what else is coming in on that. And then the public assistance money, there is going to be an eligibility. I don't think County Road and Bridge is going to qualify in Custer County, but FEMA is going to approve public assistance for the flooding beginning July 24th. Her initial email said back to the 15th, and I have not heard any more, but she sent a letter on that. And I did reach out to Gary Hyde yesterday to make sure. We'd have to have over $15,000 in eligible expenses. And
So do you have any concerns that you need to make us aware of? Whether you're gonna get it or not? You mentioned a lot of things
Yeah.
here.
Oh, I know.
What's the priority? What's your hot button? Is it the two big things you just mentioned on cleanup or what?
Yeah, for mine is the working on the Ready Set Go grants and the Pelt grants. On the finance side, Meredith's working on some SURF agreement issues. We found out that Road and Bridge's SURF agreement got put under the fire department, and so we don't want to see any money passing through the fire district if it belongs to the county. So she's trying to straighten that out. We don't know how that happened.
Can I ask a kind of awful question?
Sure.
What is, I don't remember what our agreement is, or is it an MOU with COCO? What is our relationship with them?
They are our general contractor for the project. We awarded them the contract, so I am managing the grant, but they are the contractor. So.
Thank you. I knew it was, I remember doing it last year or so, but I just couldn't remember what it was.
Yep.
And it's under a contract, is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And so I have to close it out. Yeah, then the other two things real quick then would be, I talked to the Code Red vendors, and I wasn't at the E911 meeting, but Code Red, they're willing to extend us a 1-year contract and implement IPAWS and go to unlimited minutes. And my recommendation is going to be that stays in the emergency management budget because it's eligible for that grant funding. But I don't know if they had any other input in E911. So we used to automatically wrap into a 3-year contract, and so they're willing to change that. And then following up just on the large animal, or actually the animal response at our Thursday emergency management meeting for the South Region, it was in Westcliff. We did meet. Carl Beeman spoke for an hour, talked about his lessons learned. 120 or 112 dead cattle. Some of them had to be euthanized, and
Like an alien ship came down and got them.
I read that.
I couldn't believe it was in the news.
different news story, but yeah, I saw that news story as well. That was Centennial Ranch.
It's crazy.
That was last Thursday, that meeting?
Yeah, Sarah Shields came, and then George followed up with me. He thought the meeting was tomorrow, so the plan of action is Christy Coleman's going to set another South Regional meeting after State Fair with all the extension agents, all the emergency managers. And then Alyssa has also made it a grant deliverable for the South Region Healthcare Coalition. So I think at some point we're going to have to narrow in. We're all going to be involved, but whose responsibility is it going to be as a grant deliverable, or is just your discretion? But we'll be working on that. And then I think what sort of the consensus was, hearing Carl's lessons, is that we don't want to use the word evacuation. We want to address all the liability issues and try to do some things there. And we want to have a base plan for the South Region, and then everybody's plan will be a little bit different.
So if you don't use the term evacuation, are you going to change it to run away?
Well, for animal, it'll probably be community animal response plan or emergency response plan.
What's wrong with evacuation? I'm just
We
curious.
we don't evacuate.
We don't want to evacuate your horses and your llamas and your
Fine.
yeah.
It's fine. It was off the wall.
They had enough
Roasted.
issues. Yeah, they had enough issues with the animal assessments, the property assessments, the sheltering, the donations, the liability. That one of the things he told us is they had bulls get loose out in the shelter, and they had bulls fighting, and they had volunteers out trying to get in the middle of the bulls to separate the bulls, and they had to hire veterinarians. So there's a laundry list of things we don't want to get done. So that Christie's going to set the next meeting in September or October. And we pulled out all our old plans and looked at them. He's looking at his calendar. So.
You were talking about the meeting you had last Thursday was a Homeland Security meeting?
Yeah, it was a South Region Emergency Management meeting, ESF 5 meeting.
And you're going to have, oh yeah, I did have it down.
Yeah, you had a conflict. And Alyssa had a conflict. I think she had preschool registration or something.
And there will be another one.
Yeah. And I promised to get George and Sarah on the list for that too, so we'll keep working.
Yeah, you'll let us know about it.
Okay.
And that is, yes, ma'am.
Will we have a extension agent by then?
No. Okay, anything else?
No, I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
All right, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Very much.
Did you win any prizes last
next
night?
time around?
No, if that's all right.
start taking
Meredith's gonna
pictures.
do the report next month.
Okay. Look forward to
See you
it.
later.
Yeah, thanks.
IT,
Good morning, all.
I see IT.
Hope we're gonna have fun today.
So
much fun. I brought handouts.
All right. Yeah.
Good morning.
Mhm.
Morning.
Thank you, sir.
For you, sir.
Thank you.
And we've got one.
Look at that.
Okay. So I know that we have a busy schedule and lots of fun.
Good.
Some of the challenges that I'm facing that I will be bringing up here in a little bit. The 911 system, we were going to work on that this weekend. Due to the installer, we have to push it off to next weekend. The E911 system is an interesting bundle of joy that's coming to our lives as we move forward with replacing it with the sheriff's office, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. And then also we had I'm bringing this up because I need to appeal to a higher power. We had a courthouse camera, which was originally bought under a grant from court security with the state. But once we own it, or once we install it, it becomes our responsibility. It was knocked out by a lightning strike, as well as a very expensive Ethernet switch, about about $150 Ethernet switch that was knocked out by a lightning strike, which I need to replace. I have spares in place right now, keeping it going, but I need to find out who I need.
Does it come through their budget or does it come through our budget?
That's why I did check with Mike Halpin. He said that those are our responsibility after they're installed.
Okay.
Is that internal or external
That's
camera?
I'd rather not say which one.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just a good idea.
Yeah, I wonder, number one, I think my first question, I made a note here, was insurance coverage. I wonder if insurance would cover that.
It's less than $500, so we'll reach the deductible.
Good.
Just barely less, but
Obviously, it wasn't a budgeted item, but I don't see how we can.
Gotta do it.
I can order it as soon as I get my expense card in the next few days. I just want to make certain that someone knows that it's going to be happening, coming out of the other expenses.
Appreciate the
Thanks for the
alert.
update.
We need to move
Obviously,
on.
can't say no to that.
Okay. Well, since we're in the can't say no mood.
That was a one-time
That's your one shot, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Too bad it was under $500.
Yes, there we go. On the next page is there's another issue that we're dealing with right now with the E911 system. Essentially, I'll boil it down. The E911 system requires a 10 megabyte per second circuit, stable. There's things, latency, ping, all that stuff. Basically, it means that we need a bare minimum of 10 megabytes per second that is stable, that is not filled with latency, with basically data packets getting lost or anything like that. Unfortunately, as I outlined in that page, the CCOM doesn't really enough. We actually, during the 911 demonstration, they tried to log in, do a demo off of their, or excuse me, kickoff meeting rather. They tried to do a demo, and the latency issues in our high-speed internet were not conducive to the work we were doing. So I have to install a circuit that's going to be higher speed and more stable. Now, on the second page, or the third page rather, is The options, I've been on the phone with CCOM, or excuse me, not CCOM, but CenturyLink, and I see the look on your face is kind of disgust and awe, and that's about how I've been feeling for the last 2 weeks. So, the first two are bare minimums. I don't even. They were presented to me by CenturyLink, so I presented them here. I don't even know if they will completely fit our bill. Third one is the easiest, but as you can see, it's also the most expensive.
It's still CenturyLink.
Still CenturyLink. We're talking high speed, either fiber or copper is required at some point in time to maintain this system. The fourth option
So what
is.
does that mean?
What's that?
Does that mean copper in the building or copper?
Okay. Sorry, I was moving pretty fast. I apologize. DSL speeds can give us 10, basically what they send over the telephone lines, copper, can give us basically 10 to 20 megabytes a second. Not really guaranteed.
9.6 nominally.
Right, exactly. Over at the sheriff's office, we're paying for 10. We never get more than 9.6. I have screenshots showing all this. What they call the Actellus solution was technology developed during Desert Storm. Basically, they take a couple of strands of copper, wind it all together, put a piece of tech on either side, very expensive stuff, and they're able to cram high-speed internet through the copper.
Is that option 3?
That is option 3 and a type of option 1.
Okay.
They could reach up to 10 megabytes per second, or excuse me, 100 megabytes per second, but that's really expensive.
Okay.
Not even in the realm of the ballpark here. As well as putting fiber optic directly to the sheriff's office and the dispatch 911 center.
And that's $1,500 a month.
No, that for the Actellus solution, it's too expensive to put over there. I didn't even include it, as well as fiber optic, because it's just way too expensive. Because fiber optic doesn't exist there. Option number four is the one that I'm really presenting here. We have a fiber optic line in the basement. It was run in by the courts, and so there's plenty of bandwidth for us to get 100 megabytes per second off of that.
Off of who?
Off of the unused lines that came in on that fiber optic. I did not, because we've been having so much issues with radio internet, I didn't include any of the CCOM solutions. As we met up there at the tower, that the new, Chafee Communications Company, they may be a solution in the future, but we don't know yet. It's up in the air right now. They're just barely moving into the county, and we need to see the stability of their systems. I will be pursuing them as possible replacement to CCOM if the latency fluctuation issues don't.
What are we paying now?
Quite a bit.
For our current service, it's no good.
$200 a month, give or take, for CCOM to the county building. About that over to the sheriff's office, plus various DSL lines that supply either 20 or 10 megabytes per second, and our secure communications here for the county building.
Does this eliminate any of that, or is this be in addition to?
So
that's about $1,000 you just
right.
said.
Yes.
And Jay's got a good question.
No, that's where I was going. We will be able, and I wanted to present this after we got our new telephone system in, because we're going to be consolidating lines. We're going to be cutting down the sheriff's office and DSL lines, and we are going to be cutting that down. We're going to be whittling that down, but we don't know how much right now. Jason Livengood, the installer for the phone system, and myself have been on the phone with the CenturyLink representative that represents us as a county, and basically, over the years, telephone lines have been added to the bill, DSL lines have been added to the bill, everything's kind of just been jumbled up. And I can give you all those
the print-offs of our bills, but everything's jumbled together. And as we start to pull this off, well, we don't need this phone line because we've got the phone system that can automatically shunt the calls there. We don't need this. As we start to decode all of that, we're going to be saving money. And from what we've looked at, what I've looked at, what Donna has looked at, oh, there you are, it looks like we're going to about even out. So, but we don't know yet. We don't know what the numbers are. Even out, so we certain DSL lines, even as we, start paying this much. So it's all going to...
We're still going to pay
So
$4,000
if
a
we
month.
went for option,
What's that?
I'm just trying to wrap my
Okay.
head around it. If option 4, and I'm just keying on option 4 because I heard you say that's the one you recommend. So we're thinking that once we get our new lines in and we make the adjustments that we need to make, the cost of option 4 will be approximately, and I'll leave that very loosely approximate,
approximately
of what
the
you're
same.
going to save from before. So it's really
Right.
not going to be a
Very
very
big
significant
increase.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
a wash by the time it's
This
But
is-
we won't know exactly until probably December when we start getting everything worked out with all the phone systems.
But the service should be better.
But the service should be better. So my proposal with option 4 is we connect to the fiber optic line in the basement.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned earlier that fiber optic was brought in by the court system.
Yes.
Is it acceptable for us to use it? Do we have to
It
buy
is
it
not
or
accessible
pay
for
them?
us to use the courts at all. We don't touch that
I
at all.
understand that.
But there's multiple fiber optic lines in the bundle.
But
So
they paid to bring it in. Do we have a right to use it?
I've talked to, that's a good,
Really, than I am about the court. I'm sorry, I don't.
no, you're
mean to
absolutely
pay
right.
them. I'm
This
just
is
concerned
part
the
of,
court's
this is
gonna
my
wait a
part.
minute. If we spend X millions of dollars,
Mhm.
thousands of dollars to bring this wire in, and you're just gonna piggyback off it? I mean, that's my only concern. I think we ought to clear that
That's a good question.
before
Mhm.
we go ahead and start spending money and tapping into it, just to make sure they're okay.
Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
And-
have
and you're right,
Probably
you're
the
absolutely
only
right.
thing that would be interrupting that would be whether they have plans to add some other capability in the current system and use one of those fibers.
Yeah.
Or two, or
I
10.
can see what you're
So you
saying.
just gotta find that.
I hadn't looked at it from that perspective, so.
We have been using it, but,
What's up?
right, because there's a fiber optic internet line going over that we're using.
No, that's mine. That's
okay.
mine.
Okay.
I have that was the next stage of the deal. I have a fiber optic line that is independent of anything else, running to the sheriff's office, by which we run all of the cameras and deliver all the information to the to dispatch. So my proposal with this was to and this get 100 megabytes per second into our basement via the unused fiber optic legs that already exist there. Using tech, which is broken down on the next page, send that over to the sheriff's office and run all of their internet connections via basically 50 megabytes of that over there. And then utilize another 50 megabytes here for all of our day-to-day
How many
operations.
free lines have they got if they don't have a need for it in the future?
In the fiber optic?
Right now.
I believe
10 or
there's,
5?
I believe that there are 50. There's
No
50,
way.
yeah, there's a bundle of 50, and I believe they're only using one of it, but I'll need to check on that.
Yeah.
So,
Mike Halpin probably could help us with
Okay.
ask that question.
I can talk to
I'm
him
just
about that.
concerned that we're gonna spend the money, start using it, and they're gonna turn around and go, time out, that's ours, we paid for that to come in here.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
I understand that, and I will pursue that.
Thank you.
I'll have an
I
answer for
appreciate
you.
that. Other than that.
Well, we don't have a lot of choice. We gotta have
Gotta have it.
enough bandwidth and speed to deal with this new E911 system.
Right.
It's trying to have us.
Yeah, and not E911 is gonna pay part of the bill as well.
Yes.
Too, and we don't have that now, so that'll be a help.
So my,
Talked to Buck with E911, and he's willing to pay a third of that, what we're saving.
What is that number?
What's that?
What is that number?
$970 a month.
There's some other expenses, and $50 installation, and then you're gonna need the battery backup and a small UPS, whatever that is.
Yes, like I said, this is literally the most labor-intensive work for installation for me. It requires a high extended life battery backup in the basement. Because it's about yay big. I just got one for the clerk's office. It keeps things going. It'll keep things going for days if it's just running this circuit. Another one, a smaller one on the SO side, which we've talked to the sheriff about installing it into a secure location, and then some equipment that will back up.
These are all combined prices.
What's that?
What are these prices? Are they?
These are the approximate prices of each of those pieces of equipment that we'll need to buy. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll buy it. There's no renting here. This is my side. This does nothing to do with Century. This will be my equipment to maintain.
So if we have E911 helping to fund this, and it'll be basically a wash between the savings we're gonna have with our new system and this, there should be sufficient money to go ahead and buy the additional peripherals that are needed to maintain the integrity of the system in tower failures.
Pull that out of.
Got it.
So, but yes, I believe it will.
That's their job.
And on your bid, wasn't it like 18.9, and they'd actually budgeted 25, so
That's
that
true.
money in capital
Yes.
outlay is still hanging out there waiting.
What's time frame here we're looking at? Are you wanting authority to move ahead today?
The new 911 system will not ship until we show that the infrastructure exists to support it. So it needs to be done as fast as possible. I don't know from the tech exactly how long it will take, but I can come back to you with those numbers.
Your recommendation is
Just
option
getting these
4.
numbers has been the journey so far.
You think option 4 here is our best
I
bet?
believe that is.
Yes, sir.
Well, based upon your recommendation, and based upon the finance that we've heard about, I'd like to move that we authorize you to move forward with option number 4, provided we have the conversation with the courthouse to make sure that there's not going to be an issue there down the road, and I guess that's my motion.
Thank you.
I'll say.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the IT department to move ahead with option number 4, fiber optic data bundle through CenturyLink, and if I may, sir, acquire any peripheral equipment.
Thank you.
With that.
And it probably ought to include what he presented with the cleanup of this to occur, so that you're going to be wrapped into one program. So.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Discussion.
With authorization from the court.
Yes,
That's
with-
very important.
with
Absolutely, yes. I'll
authorization
pursue
to
that.
I'm not trying to overdo it. It wasn't part of the motion. That's why I brought it up again.
I understand.
Not trying to kill it.
Any further discussion?
You know, you have to say it again.
I'd like to add just,
No, I don't.
so,
Actually,
Hold
yeah.
on just a second though.
I just asked if you could do it at the court. Who owns that technically to give him permission to do that? We gotta figure that out.
I will touch base with Kay and Mike immediately after this and start moving forward.
Lisa Rowe can probably help too.
Lisa Rowe, okay.
And anything else, sir?
No, good.
Go ahead. Sure.
So I just want to caveat, so obviously this came about because the new E911 system and needing a minimum of 10 up and down. When we originally sought bids for a new 911 system and we received these, that was in the specification. We had that, and at the time we were told that that wouldn't be an issue, that we have that with CCOM and it's not going to be a problem. And so we did not foresee this coming up until 10, and then when the Colworks came in to do the kickoff, and they could not get their program to run because I think we were getting like 4
Right.
up.
And
that
CCOM
day.
was jittery.
And they couldn't do it, and so they the project manager, she told me then, and we're scheduled for install in 6 weeks, roughly 6 weeks, and she told me right then and there, she said, we won't even ship the equipment to you until you can prove to us that we have 10, because our system will work and you have to have 911, and so we're not going to replace the old system until we can guarantee that our system's going to work, which you can't blame them. And so that's why this came about, and I apologize, the information we had said that it was gonna work, and
Okay.
that's not the case.
Thank you, sir. Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing the IT department to move forward with option number 4, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Good job.
Anything else?
Thank you. That's
Good.
for that.
That should be enough for today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Human resource, finance.
We'll start with-
Jumping jacks.
I know, get your exercise early and often. Okay. Here are some handwrittens. The top one is the tower electric, but the voucher's not signed. Those are the normal handwrittens that those.
We need a motion for this, or is this in the, this was in the,
Those are normal handwrittens. I think I sent you a copy of those. You sent
I
them to-
remember seeing that. Thank you for sending that.
And then those are just the normal insomnia and all. I needed to know what number to put on my budget call sheet. What, on the raises, what I send out, or no?
I don't think I'm prepared to answer that question, to be truthful.
Well, and you had asked me to send the budget packets out, and that was, last month. And so I thought maybe you had, because ordinarily I would have sent this out last Friday. If you choose not to, choose, any kind of increases or, because it's not that it's going to happen.
Well, that ought to be something we discuss anyway, so.
Yeah, and this was, I had sent this in your packet that said that, based on the normal letter that I send out, and I had wrote on that for 1%, not that it mattered. And then you had said no increase on the insurance, is what you had thought?
Yeah, but I don't really. So, and I do need to do bids, insurance bids, RFPs.
But the bit, we won't know that, and then it's just a crapshoot. But until I can get with Chuck to tell him these amounts to get on the website, no one can start, and I can't move forward on the budget process.
And you're thinking 1% raise?
I just filled it in so that
What number to put out in the budget packets? How much of a increase?
on the insurance, I would talk to the insurance company, and they would say we had a real, horrible hit, or no, and we would go anywhere from 2% to 1 year was 17. And on the raises, it's your call. It's
Cost of living
yeah,
increase.
it's on there if you want across the board cost of living, or no cost of living, just, it's all, it's whatever you choose.
How can we educate ourselves to know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate? I certainly don't want to cheat anybody, but I certainly don't want to break the bank when it's not appropriate. So that's why I'm asking, in the past, how did the commissioners do? I don't remember what I did last year. Honestly, I'm sorry.
I don't know what you guys did either. I was just given a number.
What's the number you were given? What do you mean?
Usually just a 3%.
3% is what we did last year.
Right.
And then that if department head could choose whether to make that across the board.
Correct.
So do we know what the state did? I saw a Feds, the cost of living increase they gave the military was like 2.6.
Oh, please don't make it a 0.6. Let's go 3.
Well,
Let's average.
I'm just saying that's why they come up with that by using their economic formula.
Is that for next year, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's certainly
I mean, that's a
something.
standard. I mean,
Certainly
based
something
on
to
what's happening
consider.
with inflation and in the economy. That's how they
That's,
come up.
that's where I'm coming from. I mean, I just don't want to pull it out of the air, but now we have something to consider.
Yeah, and I don't know how they did before, whether it was zero or,
So, have we heard anything from JD in terms of what
I
the
won't know
anticipated
that
revenues are?
I won't know that
Yeah,
until,
sure,
I'm gonna
me
say
too.
August 25th, but if we wait till August 25th, then I need these back by September 7th or 12th.
But you see, from this point of view, on that, then we can adjust it. If we look at the budget that everybody builds and why, then we can decide whether it ought to be 2.2 or 3, depending on how things are lined out. But what she or 1.
Got it. I'm
And so that's how they normally. I think you need a number, and I think that's fair. And it's not like we're committing to it, and I think that we need to vote on that. It's
We're
just
gonna have a lot of budgets come in, and
right,
we're gonna
and,
start slashing.
but we gotta get them doing it, and that's right, and then we can decide, priority-wise, you gotta have people or you can't execute, so you look at that based on the other requirements they're asking for, so.
And you're not comfortable with 2.5, right? And that's fine if you're not, I'm just
It would
asking.
just make it a lot easier, let's say we went with 3,
Okay.
and then we wanted to know 2 and 1, it's a lot easier, a full percent rather than.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's
Just
not
to
bad.
be able to.
And we're not authorizing that as a thing in the first place, it's a tool.
If I may interject, I think that given the fact that we were $600,000 over budget last year initially, that we eventually balanced that budget. I'd kind of like to think that if we give Donna a number of 1%, we can adjust up. I hate to do 3 and start adjusting down.
What's
That's
easier
my
for me to ask her?
Yeah, and I'm
I don't
good
care
either way,
personally.
in this way that people feel like there is an opportunity, because sometimes we've not had raises,
And we may
I know that
revenue,
may have to
yeah.
happen, again, depending on
Yeah, I mean,
what
it
everybody
just-
wants this year.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
It's all gonna be adjusted once Ms. Tenders could tell us what kind of revenue we're gonna have, and we can start working on balancing and
Because
finding
I
out the
believe that
requests.
the way the ARR is going, that it will be less money coming in again, that we're gonna take another hit.
This has not gone out yet,
No,
obviously.
it has not.
And-
That was just my tentative packet of my normal time frame to give people time.
Right.
It wasn't anything that was set in stone.
This
I
is
just
really
hate
just
to-
a starting number, and we'll adjust it as we see what. I'm fine with 1, 3, or 20, it doesn't really matter.
Actually.
Well, and philosophically, it does to me. I think it does matter. If we shoot a number out of 3%,
And then
I think human nature is gonna say, oh, we're in line for a 3% increase, whether it's raised, cost of living, or whatever.
the perception, I get it.
That's one of my concerns.
That is true, but, this is a budget meeting, so I'm not arguing one way or the other. I think it's okay if that's not gonna, you can have a damaging effect too, if you wanna get really serious.
Because if we say 1% and then say, hey, we're able to work it up to 2, that would be a bonus.
Better feeling.
Better feeling, exactly.
Yes,
But if we start at 3 and we say, hey, sorry, we
Right,
can only do
I agree.
2, then maybe bitter. So I'm fine with the 1, I don't have a problem.
You've articulated my thoughts pretty
Sorry,
clearly.
I didn't mean.
No,
I didn't mean
I'm just saying, that's what I'm
That's
thinking.
how I have to work it
Yeah.
through my head.
That's what I'm thinking, but, it's in there, certainly I understand and am willing to move up or down as our
Sure.
budget allows.
We'll find out when we get the numbers, what we can do.
Failure.
Yeah, and it's
Because
like,
it is a
and we
shot in
don't
the dark
know.
at this point.
That's right.
Exactly.
So,
And then I have one last part.
yeah, we're not gonna sign that today.
Because we have received those funds,
Right,
and so I
can
can
you
do
just
that
speak to this
separately.
while these gentlemen look at it, and we'll let Commissioner, or Counselor look at that as well. So it's a resolution,
Just to a supplemental, put the money back on that grant, and so I would
$8,052.
$2.
This is a fairly standard procedure.
It is ordinarily, we do it at the end of the year, but because we never know when the money will come in, but it's been there, and
And we would have to assign a resolution
down,
number
okay.
to that.
I
think, are we 19?
I think so.
18, 19, or 8,
18-19.
or is it 18-18? I think it's 18, because we've got 17.
17's on the
Okay.
table, so.
Been very busy this year.
Of them are fire.
Can you do all the resolutions from here on?
This, it's
Well, that's
all
short and sweet, mine are way too long.
on there. That's because it's money and no.
Resolution 18-18.
17.
17.
There isn't where.
It's 18.
It is everywhere, it's 17,
17
17.
is this year.
Okay.
Potentially.
It's a lot of eights in this one.
Well, you know,
Sign that
wait to
88.
sign it later, because we don't know that we're gonna adopt these yet.
No, there's no point in doing it.
Right. I mean, you know, depends on what happens.
Can we approve it?
It doesn't
pending
have
the
to be
appropriate
there.
We can
number
approve it and let them
based
put on the appropriate number. We don't have to spec a number.
Well,
And I won't be putting that in on the computer until
Right.
after I've balanced out the next
Right.
month. This is.
there's no law that says they have to be in numerical order. We're doing
Probably
that for
not.
our own.
Right, no, they don't have
So
to be.
we
I already
just
checked
approve the
on
resolution,
I just,
appropriate number.
I just feel like we need to assign a number to it. I don't care what it is.
It's 18, 18.
My motion started out as to,
Good number, we just have to backfill a number. If we did.
correct, which would adopt the $8,052 for the election data processing.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 18-18 for a budget. Sorry, the name just.
Supplemental.
Thank you, a supplemental budget of $8,052. Appreciate that. Discussion.
Looks like the right thing to do.
Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. We will sign that real quick. And we'll shoot that off to Kelly for her signature as well. Okay? Good. What else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Don.
We'll be on standby.
Yes. Oh. Chair, rollers.
Hey, I don't know why it doesn't. Everybody gets in and out of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Yeah, if you don't mind, let's take a few minutes. I'd like to try to limit it to 3 or 4 minute break, so the meeting will stand in recess. And if we can't get her, then I think we just.
JD is here for Board of Equalization.
Yeah, we can go in forward.
Good, thank you. Yeah, you guys,
Is that all right, JD?
you guys have heavy still, or is that been?
Well, we're still up here.
Yeah, I thought you just finished that.
Right, so we can do
Okay, well, whatever.
that.
Yeah.
He's just mostly.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I knew I was down a little early, but I thought I'd rather be
Yeah.
early than be late.
And actually, you have a really old agenda.
Oh, okay.
That has a bunch more stuff, and actually, public health is
That was weird.
after HR.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I'll just hang out whenever you can work me in, let me
if
know.
she's not here, we'll do it.
Hey, of course.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh,
That's
left our
cool.
windows open.
How about you? Well, she's right, I did that.
I'm just driving a car
Oh, no.
at the picnic.
Oh, no.
Hey, JD.
Hey, Bill.
Oh, my God.
Now,
Printed this out like 2 weeks ago and saved it.
How much is a copy on the big copy machine for?
absorb all the.
Wow.
Is it your drawing?
Yeah, I bet.
And it's like,
Private citizen.
it's like 2 by 3
Drop
foot?
right in my house.
$3.
$3.
We didn't get a drop at ours either.
We're above.
We were,
Oh, I had,
So we didn't get any.
the Bears were building arcs out by me. We had hail, we had, I mean, it was
Oh,
coming
really?
down.
I didn't get anything last night.
no,
Oh,
we
got
were.
a big
we were
hail.
less-
I was afraid my daughter's car was parked outside, and I just replaced my roof last year, and I'm like, great, I had a new roof for car. Went out and everything looks okay, but it was
Yeah, it
big
should be
hail.
around 3 or so when
For
we're done
10,
in
15
here.
minutes,
Across
and then it
there, and I
rained.
thought it
Oh
was
my
fine.
goodness.
Hopefully before you go home for the day.
Yeah, I'm towards Rosita, and I mean, it flat hail.
Did it?
I saw Justin.
Well, we were the
Hutton.
only county that had the hazardous weather thing for
Yeah.
the last one to go off of it.
Well, it was, like I said, my area got nailed, so we needed the rain, but you know how it is, it all runs off. It doesn't
Yeah.
go in when you get that much that fast. So.
Call here.
No problem.
Mine must be on vacation.
Who?
Kelly.
Well, her
They're doing the
her
house.
house moved yesterday, and
Mm.
I thought she was here today, but they also have all new software for doing.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
so they're like crazy in there. So yeah,
I'm just stay back.
What have you heard from our good friend Mark lately?
Oh, I got something I'm gonna send you last night, and I held off, because he's
What
back
did
at
you-
it again. He sent me a message on Monday.
You got the email I sent to him,
Yeah.
I was over.
Okay.
I didn't step
I
on
don't know,
myself.
lunch
He
on
said
Gummy
it
Bears
was
doesn't
me
work.
that he's now filing civil rights complaints
Well,
against the
It's
governor.
okay though.
And it's gonna come
It's,
back on you and the
getting
county
closer.
again.
not quite.
And I prepared a response to him saying, bring it on, you crazy stuff. You gotta be, this is.
How are you?
Wanted to see if I could find that.
You had a ping back in 3 mile low that day. They're over it too, so it's just. I wish I had nothing better to do than that stuff, you know?
I don't know, I'm sure he's getting a disability check somewhere, that's what it was before, to just sit around and think, but I think if I take, the initiative and go after it, then I hope everybody else is fed up with, give me all the information, everything they got.
Getting our
Hopefully.
Yeah.
replacement windows in this morning, so that's good. We'll have to do light now.
Sugar rush here.
What'd you have over them?
Are you here for public health?
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Alyssa's place.
Seriously?
No. But I could do it. Oh, I got it. They need to learn Irish more. Oh, good. Very good. They have no clue what I'm saying.
Because you're not saying it very clearly. So what you're saying is that they then are the rest of us.
Board of Equalization, do you have anything this year? No. You've never had anything to.
Well, I have, just not lately. Some years I would have 8 or 10, but typically it's 1 or 2. Well, let me rephrase that. Typically in a reappraisal year, I have 1 or 2. In a non-reappraisal year like this, I don't have any. The last couple of years, I haven't had any.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
Well, it's because things haven't changed a whole lot. I mean, next year I think things are starting to go up finally. So it may, but they're going to lower the residential rate again next year. So values may go up, but taxes aren't going to. But people don't always understand that. So there may be a few next year. We'll see. I don't know. I hope not, because it's always kind of a pain.
Did we hear from Melissa? Okay, I think we'll move on then. She won't mind waiting if we're in the middle of that.
Yeah, well,
I don't think it's gonna hurt our agenda any, do you, sir? If we go.
Get some more sitting down.
Yeah, the coffee cup works as a gavel, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And that's it. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. No, those two did me good. Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great.
See what we got.
Let me grab them.
Well,
You're already on.
he's grabbable.
I've never seen a 3-minute break yet that's been 3 minutes.
Start without them. Kidding.
That's how it is at my appraisal classes. I have to keep my, they always go, 5-minute break, be back to 5 minutes. And 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they started, and you're like, I'm back, and now I'm just sitting here.
Is he outside? Can you see Bill?
I don't see him right
Yeah,
there. Is he?
he's out
Hi,
on his
Elizabeth.
phone.
Brenda, I was just wondering if you Thanks.
It's military time. 10 minutes is 3 minutes.
I thought I had just seen him.
Whole gang's here, huh?
Call the meeting back to order. I think in the interest of time, we will move ahead to the Board of Equalization agenda item, if you don't mind. So at this time, I would recess the Board of County Commissioners and call to order Board of Equalization meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hey guys, sir, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, no problem.
So typically, Board of Equalization would hear any appeals that you would bring forward. Do you have any, sir?
I was not notified of any, and they're supposed to send them to you guys, and as far as I know, Brendan and Kelly, I checked both of them, and they haven't heard anything, so I don't believe there are any, which is fairly typical in a non-reappraisal year like this.
And anyone in the audience here to have an appeal for that, Board of Equalization?
I just had a question. When do those letters go out?
Okay. Do you have?
Oh, the notices evaluation, they go out May of each, May, and odd years, and then in an even year, they don't go out unless there's a change to the property and property valuation. But you can appeal every year, and your full value is also shown on your tax notice as well as the notice evaluation.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. So there's no official appeals to deal with? Okay. Any other business, Board of Equalization?
Nope. Quick and easy.
Very good. All right, sir.
I move that we adjourn the Board of Equalization and go back
I'll
into.
second it.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's gonna take me longer to shake
You
hands.
yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
I like that.
Good to see you back.
Thanks. It's good to be back. Let me tell you.
Appreciate it.
I never thought I'd say that, but yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah.
Considering, yes.
What did we get from nothing?
I texted her, and called her phone, left her a
All right,
message.
well, let's move on.
Oh,
Let's move on to, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
You made her.
Thanks for coming over.
Sorry, gosh.
No, don't apologize. We're good.
Right on the money.
We got another piece of business out of the way, so.
Perfect.
we're good.
All right. So we're doing 3 sports physicals right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, fun times.
Not too many more though, huh? It
This is
sounds
the
like.
last day, thank goodness.
Mhm.
So my biggest news is I got to go to Alabama, and that was awesome.
Good.
So, of course, that gave me another job with the regional healthcare coalition. So, some more planning around that. Hopefully, I'd like to see our sheriff and maybe our fire and our OEM. We're going to be kind of squatting ducks without that coalition. They'll be the ones that bail us out. So, let's see what else.
Can I ask about the Bluegrass Dental?
Yeah.
Where is the dental held and who does it and how does that work?
Okay, so it's pretty much just on a referral basis, so they can go to any dentist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then we just have the dentist bill us. So yeah, and we are having, so there is a day, I think Monday, we have a gal coming to the clinic, working through public health in the clinic, which is great because it's like the clinic is playing nice in the sandbox and it's it's amazing, it's fantastic, thank
Great.
God for Lisa Drew. So we're gonna see, I think, 16 kids on Monday
Cool.
and get their dental list. If that gal finds, cavities or any kind of issues, then they get referred on to the dentist.
Got it.
And for as long as funds last, we cover that for uninsured
That's wonderful.
kiddos.
That's great.
And the RETAC meeting, does it move around, or is it always in the same place?
It's always in the same place at
Pueblo.
the Pueblo Health Department, yeah.
Good, good.
2 bats negative. Working on a kitty right now. Probably negative, but hopefully.
And I know you were at the Adobe Fire, which you mentioned here. Okay. Did you stay for the flood portion of that?
I did not, because I didn't really play in the flood, so I didn't stay. But it seems like we have a little better collaboration going on between all the people that play now. So.
Plan on disseminating the Baby and Me tobacco-free campaign. Is that going to be brochures?
Yeah, we're gonna get some stuff in the paper about that. The WIC program is really gonna help us out with that a lot because that's a huge demographic is covered by WIC. So.
I know what WIC is, and I don't remember the letters.
Women, Infants, and Children, and it's like a food program.
And it was food, but I can't remember that.
Infant is an E, right?
Pardon? Infant, I. In rare form today, so.
Let's see, there's something sorry about this. I didn't mention about that. Anyways, yeah, WIC's helping out tremendously. I just submitted our Medicaid application again. I've now been working on that for a year, trying to get Medicaid. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why? What's hanging up? Is this something we could help
we
with?
keep getting hung up on. It's something different every time. Every month I get a letter that it's something different that I need to give them. Stuff from the bank, stuff from the county, which, well, Donna's been amazing getting me everything that I need, but I appreciate that if something comes around because.
And if I need to write an Instagram, I'll be happy to.
I know, I'm like, this is why people show up.
Yeah, I mean, that's terrible. We need to get this to the people who need it.
Yeah. So the other good news about that though is that if we can't get that.
Would that be nice?
Yeah. So.
What about, do you know about the EMT basic class? Is it gonna go?
It is a go. They're starting on Friday. I think they have like 8 people involved in it, and I think 6 of those 8 are on the fire department. So. Yeah. Yeah, that is a go.
Good.
Yeah, that is good.
Okay, anything else?
I got a question. That issue up there in Boneyard Park with all that trash washed down. Because when Jackie talked to me about it, one of the questions, there was a lot of baby diapers and everything that washed down. Would that be a public health issue if it was contaminating?
I mean, it is contaminating, but again, I don't really have any teeth to do anything with it. So.
And I thought they agreed they were gonna clean that up.
Did they agree to it?
And the neighbor was gonna help with that, yeah.
Who's the they?
I don't know the names.
Yeah.
This is an absentee landowner, but.
Yeah, I mean, they were throwing out their trash and
they had their own little basic landfill.
Right, yeah.
It flooded and.
Went into the neighbor's little collection pond, yeah. So. Which is legal, by the way.
Yeah,
The collection
unfortunately.
pond.
Hazard.
We need to meet again, we haven't, kind of stalled out on that. Let me send out an email.
Take the lead on that?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, we need to get that re-upped again.
I don't know how that fell off the radar, I guess we failed to.
Because about some stuff, so it's still on the rails. It's
Okay,
just
good, good.
I like how you actually spell out all these acronyms when I said that. They don't have to ask what MRC is or copy is.
Well, she finally realized who she's dealing with. So,
Whole new language.
Oh, you know what, something I didn't, it's not on here because it just came to light. So, you know, we have this huge fund of maternal child health money that's like built up because we didn't use it for so many years, which I still can't wrap my mind around that, but anyways, so we are going to fund new helmets, keep riders of this.
oh yeah, safety vests.
Safety vests, yeah. So we're gonna get more of those so that we can, because they had to like actually turn kids away last year because
of
we
that
didn't have
safety
enough
equipment.
safety equipment. So we're gonna get that
Wow, nice.
through maternal child health.
Huh. Sweet. And they'll be able to house that equipment, you don't have to keep it.
No, they're gonna, Donna, I think is her name, Donna, I don't know, anyways, one of those. Dawn Ramsey.
Sheriff's Department or
Mhm.
okay, somebody else.
The treasurer of the Saddle Club.
Oh,
Anyways, she can,
I don't even know, I don't think that's treasure merchant, is it? Well, good.
How do you compile a list for the dental program and the shingle, I guess that's shingles packs?
yeah, so the shingles backs, right now, we're just making a list whenever people call and say, hey,
people know?
do you have it? Well, it's been in the paper, it was in the paper once, but we're gonna put it in the paper again when we actually have the vaccine.
And the dental deal too.
The dental thing is being, promoted more throughout the county. We put flyers up all over, there's gonna be a thing in the paper. Oh, that was the other thing I was gonna talk about, we're gonna start having like a public health corner in the Tribune, so every week there'll be
Try to keep me and remind me of that.
updated information, yeah.
And the other paper too, in the Senate.
Well, the Senate hasn't talked to me about it, so.
Have you talked to them?
Nope, but I'm.
Well, keep in mind that the Sentinel is a paper of record.
Right, we need to talk to both, if we can help the point of view, we need to get engaged.
The Tribune came to me and asked me if they could do it, and I said, yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't you asking them, they can do it.
They initiated it.
Well, newspapers are a good way to get
I just wanna make sure that there's accurate information going out.
Well, that's your job.
It's my job to give it to the papers accurately, it's the paper's job to put it out there the way I gave it to them, so, which has been an issue in the past, so. So, that being said, the dental thing though, there's things going out in the paper that there's flyers all over, and the dentist, they have somebody come in, they have a big, cavity, and they can't pay, or they need a crown or whatever, then they say, hey, public health has this.
So you getting wrong dates published, is that what's happening?
No, I've had wrong information published over the past
So
year.
we need to get it.
Well,
People don't
unfortunately,
know about it, how do they get it?
once she gives her information to the paper, she loses control over that.
But we didn't know about that, and they're a public record. They're paid to do that for us, so we need to make sure we're doing it.
Alrighty,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Good to see you again. Nice to only see you once a month.
I know, right? Let's keep it that way, right?
Yeah, well, no. We'll all start again in September, won't it?
Yep.
Meetings. Thank you.
Alright,
Appreciate it.
take care, thanks.
I think that concludes staff reports, gentlemen. We'll move on to unfinished business. The land lease to purchase agreement. I believe we've been provided with a copy of that contract. Doesn't mean I can lay my finger on it right now,
I
but
sent it to you a couple of days ago. Clint did it too, I think.
Jay pointed out
It's
one
on
very
7:30.
slight typo in the legal description,
okay.
consisting of approximately 7.198. Actually, that's been changed because that's 6.6 acres now. I'm not sure if I just.
Did you have the most recent one that you sent us?
I have the same. This is the most recent one I have is 7.1.
Is it the one that you sent on the 30th, or what day did you send it?
What day are we at now? It was, I think I
You did it
prepared
at
it
2%.
last Friday, which was, what date was that, August 3rd?
Huh, I don't have one.
When I,
Going from August.
One I think I sent to Tom and Jay is that you sent out on the 30th.
I have one from August 2nd.
Do you? From Clint?
that might be it.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's the one I think I'm holding
Lord, I
right
can't
here.
find any of them, so.
No. No, if we don't have it, I
Oh,
apologize.
that was actually a memo to the board. Oh, here it is right here. No, I do have it with the right number.
Is that when I sent that memo out to all of you,
I don't have anything earlier than the 30th.
and what that means is that we have to run home, 'cause it's on my computer there, not here.
Well, we can make a hard copy of Donna, or Brenda's got it. Not that long.
You think it was on the 3rd, Clint?
Last Friday, which was what, I guess that was the 3rd.
On the 2nd, you sent a memo.
It's under the memo. Keep looking down the memo.
Oh, it is.
And that's.
Oh, there it is.
That's
I
the
got it.
revised
I
one?
got it.
That's
Okay.
it.
I
That's
got it
it.
with the 6.68, I'm sorry.
Alright,
That's it.
It's included in the memo?
at the bottom of the
Oh,
memo.
yeah, okay.
Wanna
You want me
print
to
it? Yeah.
make copies for
Make
everybody?
a print of it.
Well, she's
I've got the
doing
memo,
it.
but I don't have anything at the bottom of it.
Scroll to the bottom.
I'm down at the
Open
bottom
it
of
and scroll. Did you open
Of the memo itself.
it? Yeah. You scroll down.
It was all attached to the
That's it.
Word document.
That's it.
And so the 6.68 acres is correct?
That's
That's the correct number.
Price go down accordingly.
Yes, it did. And it
Well,
actually,
they just.
it went down to where
I
the,
didn't see it.
it doesn't require 12 annual payments, you can do it in 11 annual payments.
So what is the total sum now?
It's, those numbers are all in there.
500,000.
Under rental terms,
581,962.
That's higher than the one before.
no, 581 was, and then if you look at
subtract?
paragraph number 1, and I don't have that in front of me, but paragraph number 1 under
I have it in
rental.
front of me, and
It says 581,962.
the one I have, this is the prior one where it says 7.19 acres. The total cost is gonna be 578,222. So the amount of square.
No, it was 6 something, that from the 989,000, once you subtracted the gift portion of it, it brought it down,
Oh,
and then, yeah, to 628,000. And
keep scrolling down, Jay. It gets it down to 531,962 of 2%.
if you look at Exhibit A that's attached to the lease agreement, it shows the starting number, which was 578. And then with the initial lease payment that is going to be made today, if this is approved, it brings it down. Yeah, let me have that, it's easier, but Exhibit A has the starting agreement.
I'm looking at this 578 right there. Am I missing something?
No, but that number in the old one was 628.
So you gotta keep going down where he takes the payments off of it, and then what we're financing in the end is whatever it
Yes,
is.
under the old agreement, it was 628 was the starting number. 628,000. Now it's down to 581,000, and minus the 50,000 that would be paid upon approval of this, it brings it down to 531.
I'm looking at Exhibit B of the old one, and I'm seeing the same 578,222 that's shown right here. That was based on 7.19 acres. Here's the new one, lower acreage, 6.68, but the price is now higher. Am I missing something?
What you're saying is correct, I just don't know about these numbers. I don't remember.
Let me
Is
compare it
that
to
the
the
one I
other.
just gave you?
Yeah.
I'm comparing the one that I had worked on to my discussion items versus the one you just
This
gave.
is the number, yeah, 581.
I get it, but here's the one prior to that that had more acreage. See, that was that acreage.
Oh, yeah, that says 578.
And this number is less.
Yeah.
So why would it should go down, not up?
Your payment table, Clint, is using 581,962.
Right. I'm looking
Your amortization table. So you reduced that by 50K. Yeah. So that was the 628,000.
628 was reduced down to 581 based on the smaller
So
amount.
show him on the 4% table, contract that he's got, because I think
Contract, you're just saying the original
Why did the acreage
one
go
is
down
different
and the
numbers.
price go
it
up?
appears to.
It didn't.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I mean, I started with the 628, 228, the number, but once we subtracted the initial 50,000 from that, that's when it came down to 578.
Okay.
On the new one, when you subtract the first 50,000, it comes down to 531,000.
You gotta compare the same numbers, which is what you're doing.
Right. And I think in this one, let's see.
So now $2 a foot is what our net cost is.
Yeah, if you look at, compare paragraph number 1 of that old one with number 1 of the new one.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting hung up.
Okay, well, under the old one, the original price was 939,589.
Correct.
Under the new one, it's 872,943.
Right.
When you subtract the gift, the old one was 311,367.
The gift amount changed.
Yeah, the gift amount is now 290,981.
That's where it is.
So he's got the right number. But you do have a typo here, I think, Clint. Go underneath it where you start naming the number in the paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 4 uses 7.19
Okay, that is an error in Brenda.
It should be
That's an error. It should be
6.68.
6 point whatever.
6.68.
Yeah. So that needs to be corrected.
So can I go back? I'm sorry to beat this death. I just have to get my hand around this. So the Hager folks, the gift they're giving to us is less than what the previous one was?
Right.
It's
Because of the
1%.
acreage.
It's 1%.
Because the acreage changed.
I mean, it went from, well, it's not 1%, $1, excuse me.
Okay.
Because it was $1 per square foot.
Got it.
We were gonna pay 3,
I got
they
it.
gave
I got it. I understand.
That's right.
The dollar a foot was the donation,
Right.
wasn't a set number.
No.
Got it. So the number would come
So
down
when
because
the
the
state-
That's right, 'cause
went down.
that's what we're getting to
Okay,
buy.
I'm fine. I don't mean to.
But, so Brett, do you see that one correction that needs to be made there then? Okay.
Yeah.
Where's their correction? I'm sorry.
Just to bring everybody up to
Paragraph
speed,
Paragraph 4
the
still
EMS
says
building
7.19.
was, we started with the wrong plat.
Hold on a second. What was that?
I was just, he had a question
I
about.
got it. 6.68 from
Right.
7.9. I got it. Okay. No
So
problem.
the whole point here is we started with the wrong plat. It was picked up by the committee in error upstairs in the assessor's office, and it had 7.19. It did not account for the EMS building being sold to the EMS guys.
Right.
And that took that little bit of acreage out of it, and so the acres went down from 7.19 to 6.68. So that reduced the final sale price after the gift was of 50,000 was given, and so the total amount that we're financing is 6 whatever it is.
Well, it's actually 578.
578.
And
So that allows us to pay it off.
And actually,
one
that
less
amount,
payment.
we're not paying interest, because the first payment is due now, so it's 531,962 that we be paying interest on.
Right.
With the first interest payment due next year annually.
So there are the same terms the committee brought to us, less the error, so it's a little bit less price.
Right, and then the interest rate was negotiated.
And the interest rate I got down to 2% as
Right.
opposed to 4%.
And
So it's a
the attorney for the Hagas is okay with this. I've been in communication with him, and he was in agreement. He and I have gone back and forth on some of the terms of this, and with Bill's assistance talking to Mike and Berta Haga, we got the final terms agreed on. One thing I should, and I was pretty sure about this, but I verified this with JD this morning. Once this even approved and recorded, which it would be recorded, there won't be any property tax at all anymore, because then it's considered county property under a lease purchase. So we won't be paying any. The property tax was costing the Hagas a little over $2,600 a year on this. They'll have to pay a prorated amount up through July, but then after that, there's no more property tax.
I had a couple things. One, this contract is not necessary for the Haga attorney to sign this.
No, I'm not signing it either.
Okay. Secondly, the naming rights, there's no sunset on.
It says that it would be done before
Choose a name shall mature and become operative.
before the opening of the complex for use, so they're gonna have to, that would be the very latest.
And they, just as an aside, that they're not hard over on that. That was just something that initially Don Banner had discussed with them, and then after they're thinking about it.
And it does make sure that we include the name Custer County Justice Center.
That's
so
right.
Anything else will be in addition to that.
And they did want and agree to a picture today if we go through with this. And that would be in the courthouse here with the seal behind them, kind of a historic picture of what they've done.
Yeah, I spoke with Donna Hobby. Obviously, we will need to include, if we move forward today, we will need to include this voucher in the July voucher because the payment's due August 1. So we will have to make sure that that is submitted to the commissioners.
What account is this $50,000 coming out of that wasn't budgeted?
Good question.
Yeah, Donna had.
I think it was capital improvement.
It was a capital improvement one.
I think so.
Is this really
That's
a
what she
capital
told me.
improvement?
She told me
This is
so.
a lease purchase. Is this a capital improvement? I'm just asking.
Yeah, no,
That's not what, I think that's how Donna was treating it as capital improvement, and she knows a whole lot more about it than I do.
Is she
can we
available?
see if she can come over, please?
Thank you.
I might also mention that Donna had sent this appropriations, which is, that has to be in there, since you can't tie the hands of future boards.
Isn't that kind of a generic statement? Bill, please don't, I mean this with all due respect. We, when we started this project,
where the money's coming from, the
when we started this project,
Okay.
we were talking about which one of us would be the lead on this. And we agreed that all three of us would be intimately involved because it's such a big project. And I kind of feel like I was left out of the loop a lot. I mean, there were obviously meetings that I didn't attend because I either didn't know or whatever. I mean, you said the committee met to discuss this. I don't know where I was.
The only thing I'm referring to is what we did in the past. There weren't any other meetings from the committee. It was what they, it's what they presented to us. And we said, gave him the authorization to go get it done, and that's what happened. There's been no other meetings other than they've been negotiating. And then I forwarded everything that I've gotten back to you guys.
You have, and I don't, this is
There's
not
been no other
criticism.
meetings that I'm
I just
aware
kind
of.
of feel like I'm handed this saying, come on, let's sign and get a picture taken. I'm going, whoa. It's a good deal. There's no doubt in my mind. Please don't, I hope I'm not sounding like I'm whining or anything. We're talking about, based on the new number, it's about $2 a foot. I'm not a realtor, but based on what you told, about what you told us, a reasonable price is $3, so I mean a third discount from the Hager family. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're gonna have your name on the building. You deserve it for what you're doing.
Well, and the other thing that everybody kind of overlooks, there's no other way we can buy it on a lease to purchase. Most realtors and most people want their money now, and we wouldn't have been able to get it otherwise.
This is, I've made the statement a number of times, I'll make it again right now. This is a perfect location where it is right here in the hub of our community center.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's good.
It fits us perfectly. The deal appears to be very reasonable. I've gone over it, I went through, and, the only thing I get hung up on, the same thing I get hung up all the time, is when I say, where's the money coming from? And that's always an issue to me.
There's the money lady
I'll
right
ask her in
there.
a second. So, I don't know, maybe I'm feeling lonely today, I don't know. I don't know, I mean, I will tell you,
I
if it
understand
comes to a
that.
vote, I am in favor of this all the way. I commend you and your committee, the committee who did this. I commend Clint.
I hear you, and the only reason Clint worked overtime on this, once he got back from his vacation.
I know.
But the only pressure there was there is the Hagas wanted to move, process now dealing with the town to rezone all the rest of the land to make it commercial, or condos, that kind of thing they want to do. And so they wanted to deal with that, and if we weren't gonna go through with this, that was part of the deal. And they did not want to proceed unless we had that first chance, and that's why Clint worked very hard, and we worked with Don.
I appreciate the family.
That was the only
I appreciate
reason.
everybody here.
Otherwise, we'd have had maybe a month for us to toss this contract around, and I did send it out the minute that after we got their terms finalized on the interest rate, and that you got it as soon as I had it.
The concern, a couple things. I truly feel somewhere we circumvented around that committee. Now, I don't know if we did. It seemed like that committee was functioning, we were talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden we quit meeting and now we're here today. I guess I would ask your perspective of that, Shannon.
So the last meeting we had was in July. No, that's not true, it's August. The third week in August, I don't have the date off the top of my head. And at that time.
This is August, Shannon.
And it's the beginning of August.
June.
In some sense of June, right? We had
June.
Did I say July? I'm sorry. So June. I'm sorry. So the last meeting we had in June, at that meeting we put in plan, the schedule of what we were targeting and the events that we were going to do. And then at that time, though, from the presentation that was given, plan and the proposal, and that's when that committee agreed to have Clint and the Hagas attorney get together and see if they could develop the contract that ultimately that you're looking at now.
Right.
Now, we were supposed to have a meeting in July, but that got canceled because we, Bill, we were going to have Park County and Huerfano County come to present to the group. Well, that didn't happen because of scheduling. It just didn't happen, and so we didn't have a lot to really discuss.
And there wasn't anything to discuss from a contract point.
Yeah, because it
negotiated.
wasn't done. In fact, I hadn't seen the contract until Monday when Clint shared it with me, and I know Jay asked me. I think you sent the email on Friday.
Right.
Said, hey, have you heard an update on that? And I hadn't at that point, so that's when I sent an email out, and that's when I got the response back on Monday, and then I forwarded it out to the rest of the committee. Said, hey, listen, so. It looks like we have a contract that's going to be proposed to the commissioners. So we did miss the one meeting, and that was a canceled. It wasn't like we didn't have a plan. We have another one planned for I believe it's the 20th or 21st of this month, where we'll go over the schedule and where we're at on that. Also, we're just waiting to hear back from Park County, right, Bill? From Park County. When he gets that back to Bill and what works for him, then we're going to have a special meeting where we can sit down and we can meet with them because, they've just recently gone through this, and so they can kind of lay out what they did, and we're just developing a schedule on where we need to go from here. This was just part of the plan. We were kind of moving forward whether this gets signed or not, because ultimately we still have to plan down the road whether it's this property or another property that it, so.
Which is another thing they pointed out to me, just as an aside, the fact we have land, if we do this, is a big deal, because we can't go for a grant betting on the come that'll get land, and that would really delay it depending on whatever.
And the advantage of the committee is we've got, was there 18 members roughly, folks from valuable input and thoughtful comments, and it's,
That's how we got to the thing.
Yeah, I think that's how we've really gotten to here, evaluating the county properties that are currently on the books, and this unique opportunity here has presented itself, and I echo what Jay said. It's a perfect location. I think we were all on the same page with that ideally, everything else aside, that is the most ideal location for it. So
yeah, I definitely felt I had my marching orders from that committee meeting, that was the decision that was made to go ahead.
Yes, sir.
That's why we did this.
I would absolutely agree.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to make sure we're clear on. I just felt like things kind of, not fell apart, but things got a little helter-skeltery after that meeting. But maybe that's the nature of the beast, that everybody marched off and did what they were charged to do with, and that brought us here.
Well, we ultimately to see what
right
could be worked out at the Hagues.
Right, may I say something?
Yeah.
Because the sub-land committee took that charge on, and then once the committee decided, when we worked out all the details and everything and presented it to the commissioners, there's not much you can do until you know whether that's going to proceed forward or not.
Right.
And that's when you all accepted the Clinton and the attorneys to work.
Luckily, the family accepted.
But in the meantime, the work is still working in the background.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a critical thing to have, is the land. So I don't want you to feel like nothing's going on. A lot of work's been put into this from a lot of people.
You mean the next steps with the committee?
Yeah, the next step will go forward.
Right, that's when a lot of the...
Let me clarify one legal issue for the record here, because even though the commissioners were attending these committee meetings, the decisions that were made by the committee were by the committee, not by any of the commissioners.
Right. You gotta be careful.
That's right.
Yeah, I wanted to make that.
And actually, the commissioners have been very clear in those meetings that they don't vote on anything.
Right.
They don't. I mean, they talk about stuff in perspective, but they don't make decisions, and they don't say, "Listen, I would or wouldn't do this."
Right.
That's not what they've done. And I will say that too, that this contract, if you decide to go forward with the land, it puts us in a unique position, because from speaking to Alamosa, from speaking location, we talked to the folks in Werfeno that they want to build a judicial center, and they're going to, but they don't really have a good place to put it, and they're going to be cramped, and so they've got to go up. So for us to have land, it puts us ahead of the schedule, because usually that has to go into the purchase and the whole building project, and then you have those unique challenges too.
Not only that, we got an in-kind match here,
Right.
over $1 million.
Right.
So, if I may, Ms. Hobby, it calls for a $50,000 payment immediately, not in the budget, or is it?
Well, no, but yes. The prior board.
She's not even a politician.
I know.
Yeah, could be.
She can keep her promises.
On there. The prior board had put 50,000 in for building improvements, and it's just chosen not to do those building improvements, to use this as a down payment or the first payment. And so the money is actually sitting there.
Do you happen to know the line item right off?
50 406 00 913.
Not
I
really.
can't remember my grandkids'
Not
names,
sure.
but I got this one.
Yeah.
So, that's my question. Do we need to allocate that money to something different? Because
It was never allocated.
I'm just having a little issue. Look, I'm gonna vote for this. I think it's great. It's what we need. I'm in favor of it. I just wanna get my ducks lined up, okay? It's not a capital improvement. It's a physical.
But that is what,
That's
so it's,
what I needed.
yeah,
to
I mean,
hear.
it was like it was meant to be, because that lump sum was not allocated to anything. It was because we need improvements, as we all know. The buildings need improvements, and that, it was just put out there.
So in our future
to
budgets,
happen.
Jay, we would
Makes good sense.
we would be
I needed to
budgeting.
hear it because I didn't know
earmarked.
where that, to me, lease permits on land seems different than capital improvement, but if that's where traditionally done it, I'm good.
So do we continue to operate with this lease out of 40600? Or do we put it in something else?
I would keep it there just because until we know until we know what's going to happen or where we're gonna go with it. And it's county, and it is the sales tax, it is the restricted money of the capital outlay, so it's a good fit.
So when we budget our lease payment plus interest, we should budget it into 40600.
That's correct.
Not move it somewhere else.
Okay, all my questions are answered, I'm ready.
I move we accept and with corrections on the contract that we've noted. I move we move forward and sign the agreement, and then meet with the Hags to have them sign it with us. Or actually, what they want to do, we all sign it together. That's what they would like to have.
Well, it's good. I guess you need a second first. I'll second it.
We can discuss
It's a
it.
discussion. If we need to amend it to fix the typo.
Yes, that's what I said. We got it.
I have a copy with the typo fixed already, so.
Oh, never mind, it's too good.
And the motion, I think, should be that you sign it, sign it today's date, nunc pro tunc, August
Yes.
1. It's effective as of August 1.
It's been moved
Spell
and
that
seconded.
for her.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the contract for a lease purchase agreement on the Haga property, retro effectively to August 1. Is there any discussion? Thank you for doing that, because I was not gonna vote to do a contract with some changes. These changes need to be done, they need to be on paper, they need to be concrete, in my opinion. They're the things that are
Even if we find a
dealt
typo,
with.
even if we find a typo later, it does not nullify a valid contract.
No, it does cause me angst as a commissioner. I don't like signing stuff,
That you know
figuring
is
that
not
we're gonna
right.
fix it later. We've done it historically with this board, I'm not comfortable with it, and I will probably indicate that moving forward. It has nothing to do with this, because we have an amended contract here. So the motion does not have to include the amendment that's been taken care of. Is that fair enough for you, sir? Further discussion? I don't know that the motion needs to include where the money's coming from. That's been a discussed item. Are you comfortable with that? Okay. Further discussion from the board? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We're moving forward.
So when will the picture?
2 o'clock's when I told them, but if we're ready
I'll
before
be
then,
long gone by 2 o'clock.
then let's do it soon. They'll come sooner, but I need to let them know.
If we need to adjourn or recess real quick,
I can go do
That
that.
would be
I've
great.
gotta be in Grand Junction
Get it there
by
sooner.
5 or 6,
So when are we gonna? Let's project when we're gonna finish here, so I can tell them.
Well,
while I'm sitting
Well, you
here.
can
let me just
recess,
suggest,
can't
I
you?
don't know, we need to be
When they get
finished. We can take a quick recess.
The final copy.
So I'm okay with taking a recess if we need to, Bill. If you wanna set a time, then that's fine. So are you okay with taking a recess to do that?
Jay,
Absolutely.
Jay, you want a signed
It'll be in
one,
time.
or?
Well, let's just wait till it's signed, that's fine. Yeah, I was just thinking I wanted a correct copy, because I got multiple not correct.
That's not an issue for me, but if you
Yeah,
want to get a
she may
new
say,
one.
she may say 12, 15.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because
I
it's
just,
tested by
Yeah.
her,
we
so
can't
sorry.
put time on when we're done.
Are we in recess?
No, we're not. But we can take just a couple minute recess. Thank you, Donna. Donna, thank you for coming back in. I appreciate that. Yeah, we wanted to make sure we knew where that was happening. We'll be in a couple minute recess till Bill gets that done. Councilor, are we okay to move forward?
plus
the
the
They'll have
second
messages
money.
on their phones and send them a text.
Okay. Call the Board of Commissioners meeting back to order from recess. I think our next item under new business is the Lookout Tower land. Sangre de Cristo Electric would like to transfer ownership of the Lookout Tower, of their tower on Lookout Mountain to the county, and part of that process is assigning the right-of-way, as I believe I've said that correctly, from BLM to Custer County. Those documents were provided to us. I gave those to council to look over. Sir, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Everything looked okay to me. There was just a couple of corrections that one was on page 1 of the, this is actually the lease agreement. The assignment itself was fine to assign their interest in leasing that land, or having the right of way to use that land for the tower. That's being assigned to us, and that was fine. It was the lease agreement where Custer County will now be leasing space on the tower to Sangre de Cristo Electric, where there were a couple
You
of
become
corrections.
the leaseor.
The county is the lessor, and
They are the leasee.
lessee.
The lessee.
Lessor,
Sangre.
lessee.
Okay. And you're okay with moving ahead?
Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with this, but there is a correction to be.
I've got a blank one.
I got a blank one too.
Well, the ones I thought
Assignment of right-of-way.
I thought there was an original one in here somewhere. That's what these documents were.
Right. But in our board packet, we were
There's just
provided
a
blank
blank
of those.
Yeah,
May
here's
not
the
have transferred.
Yeah, here's the assignment, a place for you to sign.
Okay, and what in there were you concerned with, sir?
Not in the assignment itself.
Okay.
There's two different things. There's
Okay.
the assignment, which is, and there's a couple of originals. Let me give you this
Okay.
one first, because it's marked where your signature. Get that thing out there.
Thank you.
And here's the document that you would need to sign.
Pertaining to the assignment of the right-of-way. That's correct.
That's the same.
Okay. Okay.
And there's actually two originals, one for the county and one that goes back to BLM.
And then there's the, then the application for transportation utility systems. We have to deal with that as well, correct?
Yes. Here's the other.
So there's two originals here.
Right.
I would move that we authorize the transfer of ownership and the assignment of right-of-way for the Sangre de Cristo Tower located on Lookout Mountain to be transferred to Custer County.
That says tower over there. What is the actual, this guy?
This is the assignment of right-of-way. We're going to authorize the county to accept the Lookout Tower.
So it's using tower on there, is all I'm asking. What are we?
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. To transfer ownership from Sangre de Cristo Electric to Custer County, and included in that the assignment of said right-of-ways.
Right.
So these are right-of-ways specifically.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
I know we've been fooling with this for quite a while, but in a nutshell, why do they want to assign their interest, and why do we want to accept it?
My perspective, my understanding is this, that they really don't want to be in the tower business. They just want the top 10 feet of that tower because they're relying on that for radio communication back to Buena Vista. we talked, pardon?
We own that tower, do we not?
No, Sangre
Sangre,
Crystal
this is
owns
the
the
Sangre
tower. This is
Crystal.
the Sangre Crystal
And
tower.
they're
They're donating that tower, no, I'm sorry, they are selling that tower to us for the price of $10. It is not a donation.
what budget line, how was it joke?
Yeah.
How was it joke?
So.
Capital improvements on Lookout
in-
Mountain.
In speaking with the Sangre Crystal rep that was out at Lookout Mountain the day we went out and did the site tour and the inspection, said that Sangre Crystal would much rather just be granted is it a 10-year lease? It's in there.
No, it's longer than that.
Might be 25 or 30 that tower. And they said, you guys can have the tower, you can charge the money to your other vendors. We don't care, we don't have the expertise, according to their rep. He said, we do not have a tech to come down here and deal with it. It's a long ways for us. If we just had the top 10 feet, we'd rather just give you the tower. You can realize whatever revenues you want off of it. Now, that's what he told us, and I've got his name on my card. In my card file, I can dig that out. So that was their motivation. I think our motivation, in my perspective, Bill was at that meeting as well. Obviously, it allows us to generate some revenue off of that tower. I think there are 3 or 4 other entities on that, well, 4 total, 3 others besides Sangre Crystal.
So if they sell us the tower for $10, my assumption would be that we're going to assume whatever agreements they have with the other vendors on the tower.
Correct.
Do we have any idea how much that is? Is it
Dawn
minimal, or is it?
probably knows, I think all the money has come through Dawn.
It's like $3,000 roughly, but
Okay.
that's what I've been told before.
Okay. I'm not
It's not a
naysaying
big deal.
anything here, I'm just trying to
Get
Get
an
an
idea.
idea. And in fact, the other piece that we've been working in the background, it's gonna take a while, that I keep mentioning, is that BLM wants out of the business too, and that's why they wanna swap some land and
Right.
let
But
us have
that's
the
a
right.
totally
That's a whole
separate
different
Yeah,
deal.
it's a different
So
animal.
let's-
I'm-
yeah.
I'm
They're
much
doing it
more
for the
upset
same
than that
reason.
was.
Yeah.
So that was my understanding with visiting with the Sangre Crystal electric rep that was here.
And how much maintenance will this tower be, and what kind of cost to the county, and who will do it? I'm just concerned about, I don't wanna inherit a house that's falling down, metaphorically.
Well, the entities that are living on that tower will maintain their own equipment.
Right.
The tower itself, I don't know that there's been any maintenance on it.
Maintenance
that I'm
other than
aware
when
of.
you were shinnying up and down.
Roger Squire was there.
He
We
did.
we did talk about it, but there was nothing ever brought up about.
And we already
Should
are
be a big
obligated
yes.
to maintain the road up there anyway.
We have equipment on that tower.
I know we do.
CCOM has equipment on that tower.
AT&T is separate.
AT&T separate, but Chafee Communications
Hmm.
has equipment on that tower. Well, we didn't know a lot of that, particularly about the Chafee
Brand new.
Communications, because they were new, and they lessee on that tower. So we will be going from a lessee to an owner. So now we will pick up those contracts and then negotiate those whenever they come.
Actually, we don't have to pay
Thanks for the
maintenance.
explanation.
Yeah.
I've been involved fuzzy, so just need to come on to.
Well, I was where you were at. I'm glad I went to that site inspection because we physically got to look at the equipment and said, okay, here's the equipment in the building, that's the radio, that belongs to whoever. It
And to
definitely
talk to each
clarified.
individual was great.
And in the past, we have been paying lease to be on that tower.
Yeah.
So,
So we don't.
That money, obviously.
yeah. Good discussion. Anything else? Public comment?
Is Sangre de Cristo paying you
No.
For the 25
So-
years.
I'm sorry, I jumped. I didn't even let you
For the
finish.
lease?
No. The agreement
Okay.
would be that they do not have to pay for that lease space at the top 10 feet in
For
exchange
25
for the
years.
tower. Yeah.
And we'll get additional revenue based on the
Yes.
other companies that lease space.
Okay.
So
And
it's-
not have to pay for our space. But yeah, I did not. Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm looking at the agenda and it says Lookout Tower land assignment for the BLM.
Okay.
So,
And that's
anyway, I
technically
do want
that
to
is
comment.
not correct.
I know.
Yeah, thank you. That would be, yeah, it's just a mistake.
Right.
Shouldn't have said land.
But, this starts that
Well,
transition, right?
It may. It doesn't have to. Separate issue.
They want to do it.
So, okay, so my comment is that we are attempting to move forward on a private funded project, which includes contributing to the public highway partially, investing in improving that, which will save a ton of money. And we want to know what our showstoppers are. And when we hear, oh, let's put a picnic area,
well, that has nothing to do with this.
Okay, it has nothing to do with this.
No.
But my comment is that I don't support the transfer of that tower to the county or any change up there, unless we have a clear understanding of what our showstoppers are. And wildfire from a picnic area is a showstopper for us. We're going to go to another county.
I don't know anything about a picnic area.
Well, it's been in the public record a couple times now.
Okay. All we're talking about here is transferring ownership of a tower.
Right. And we oppose that because it leads one thing to another. You understand?
Yeah, I don't.
And we got to know. We can't wait for 2 years. We got to know because I have other people involved and they want to go to another county, and I'm saying no. This is a perfect county. Okay. This is a perfect county. This is where I'm from. They have the values. I know they have the values that we're looking for. Okay, well, so
I don't
help me out with agenda, if you
will. Yeah, the land thing was a mistake. I think we cleared that up. Secondly, we're only talking about transferring ownership of the right-of-way and of the ownership of the tower. What happens subsequent to that would probably be dealt with subsequently down the road at another time and place. But your point has been heard. You're opposed to the transfer of the ownership. Thank you. Other public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries. 2 copies, correct, sir?
Right. Where you got their little pink things attached for signatures.
These are coming back to you.
I think they go to Kelly at this point.
Yeah, they go over here.
See where she has to attest any of it, but
doesn't have to be recorded.
I just need to get it out of here. So,
well, I
will
give it to her, and we'll discuss it. I got it. I'm going to have like a pile of stuff for her. So.
That's what she gets.
That's right.
Now all you need to do is have a meeting or have an agreement to assign her to some committee.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens when you miss a meeting.
Well, guess what? You're the president.
Right. And we figured out 44 things for you to do. That's what's scary about missing a meeting. You never know what you're going to get voluntold for.
Yeah.
Is she going to sign this?
Yeah. It was a good gig last night, just while we're waiting.
That's for later. You don't have to do it now. I just wanted to get it out of my pile.
It didn't stop anybody. Actually, it drove us together.
Okay.
I will. I have it.
How many people do you think?
You know what it is, right?
I don't know.
I mean, you're not just signing something.
I'm not. I'm just curious.
Not as many as last year, I think, because of the rain. Some people that came a little later normally didn't come because of the rain, but I would say there was probably a good 1,000, 1,200 people there probably.
That's right.
Okay.
But did a good job.
Attorney, anything else on that?
Not on the assignment of the right-of-way, but the other part of this is the lease agreement that Custer County will be entering into with Sangre de Cristo Electric, which that's attached as a bill of sale. That's where the $10 comes in. The lease agreement was fine. There were a couple of errors. They referred to the landlord, which is Custer County in this case. There's a couple of places where it makes reference to the landlord's headquarters building in the county of Chaffee, so that needs to be corrected.
Boilerplate got in there.
In 2 places. And the other thing is, and this was the contact person. They have you personally as the contact person for any future communications. My suggestion would be, it would be the administrative assistant to the Board of County Commissioners, since things are obviously will change, but will always or should always be an administrative assistant. So I might mark those with yellow tabs, but other than that, the lease agreement, and there's 2 copies, looked okay to me.
Thank you. What is the?
Oh, wait, that's your announcement earlier.
Yeah, what's your
Guess he's not gonna sign that, baby.
I'll sign it if you 2 vote for it. I will vote against it. I think we need to make the corrections. That is me personally, but we can still function. That's your choice. Press on. Chair would entertain a motion for that back.
Doesn't hurt to ever fix
Make
it.
some corrections. I don't think we're in a great time crunch here.
Crunch on
So,
this.
Urgency.
Who originated these? Who
That
needs to
came
make
from
the
Sangre de
changes?
Cristo.
yeah,
Electric.
and
His name is Bill Ortiz,
Ortiz was the rep, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the.
Did he already
CEO's
sign
name.
it?
and there's a
Did they
Pat
already sign it?
Bernhardt that signed something. That's the other name, is the contact person in that
So,
lease
right.
agreement.
Maybe Tom.
Paul Erickson has signed it, yes.
Well, that's the BLM,
He's-
isn't it?
No, that's Sangre de Cristo.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the CEO of Sangre de
So
Cristo.
maybe, just to be fair to them, I think, and this is done too, he signed it, they missed a typo, I think he can sign it and send it back and be, from a courtesy point of view. Otherwise, they're gonna have to recycle it.
Yeah, just, the Chafee should be changed to Custer in 2 places, and I think the contact person for Custer County should be changed, so we don't have Tom.
So can you do
individual.
it by hand,
Well, you can do it that way and send it back to them and
one of the 2?
with the corrections. If you're all in agreement, the contact person should be the administrative
Yeah.
Right,
assistant.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Personally, I believe we should send it back to them and have it corrected. We've identified the corrections that we'd like to see done, but again, that is my opinion, gentlemen. You press on with whatever. If it was something that we were all.
We're gonna take a
against
picture
the
and sign it. We can do
Timeline,
it.
then that's different. I just personally think we gotta get away from doing this. Somebody's gonna drop the ball sometime and something won't get changed, and then we're signing stuff that's not accurate, and I don't agree with that. So that's my opinion. If there's no motion to the effect, then we will send that back.
Send it back.
You okay with that, Miss Brenda?
Well,
I'll get you the name.
sure, okay. Why not?
Give it to Kelly.
Well, I think there's
Yeah,
several
I
reasons.
think, yeah, I think
Oh,
Kelly
gosh,
needs
yeah.
to do it.
Put this back on your desk and don't give it back.
Yeah, he's wanting to get rid of those 2
I didn't know what it
files.
was.
No,
but
I
it's
just didn't
all-
want to haul it back with me last night. So.
Okay.
You want it, or should I just put it on?
No.
And you want me to put that on for the 15th then?
If we can get it back
it
by
back
then, yes, yeah. Well, I thought I stuck his card in my card file, but I'm not finding it, so.
So the assignment, assignment of right away.
That can proceed, don't you think, Clint?
Who does
Yeah.
that go to? Who's your turn to sign? Okay. Got it.
Good, okay. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. The next item of business, resolution 18. You know what, with your permission, I'd like to jump down one agenda item. Sheriff Byerly's been waiting to move to
I think that's
18-17. Impose or remove fire ban stages. Sir, thanks for coming in.
Hey, before we do that, just a question.
Okay.
Are we gonna talk about the current ban in this discussion or
We
not?
may, not in this discussion, but probably
I
before
thought
he
that was
leaves
part of the
today.
thing that we were gonna get done.
I think we should.
It was,
We got to.
but it's not part of this resolution.
Right, that's what I
It's
meant.
separate deal. I would move that we authorize the sheriff to impose and/or remove stage 1, 2, or 3 fire ban restrictions pursuant to the county ordinance 15-02. Been moved and seconded to authorize the Custer County Sheriff to impose or remove fire bans. Discussion.
2 items. One is, I'm I'm always gonna go with your recommendations, so it just makes sense, just do it, because I'm gonna say I agree no matter what, because I don't have that expertise. But I am a little concerned, are we violating state law by doing this? And I know that's an issue that council brought up, and I tried to find it, I couldn't find where it said that. I don't think we as a county should ever willfully violate any laws. So that's just a concern to me.
That's probably more after looking into it, a number of other counties in Colorado have a similar resolution, or some of them even have done it by ordinance. But it appears to be accepted practice. It's been in effect at least going back to 2000 in some of these documents that I've come across. So I think it's acceptable. It just seems to make the process a lot smoother for him to make the call right away and have you ratify.
So, and my take on it is exactly that a lot of the counties that are doing it the way that you're proposing today is it streamlines the process in the event something happens that it can be done. For example, like Pueblo County, so what they've done with it is when they have a red flag warning day, the sheriff can say, look, there's no burning today. And so they just put that out. So when someone calls in, that has a burn permit, and they want to burn, they say, look, it's a red flag day, no burning. And it gives the sheriff that ability to, on those specific days. Quite honestly, I can only speak for Shannon Byerly. I don't know how long I'll be the sheriff who will replace me, but my perspective is I'm not just going to talk to some old boy while I'm getting fuel and say, you know what, we're going to go into a fire ban today because this guy thinks that's not how it goes. There's a process, and I want it
that's really
based on science.
Right, and that, I really want you to have this thought. My only concern was, are we violating law?
Make a note of, and you kind of alluded to it, I hope you are the sheriff for a long time, but in the event somebody else is sitting there, the wording of this is that the Board of County Commissioners shall be notified of the decision.
Absolutely.
And such decisions will be reviewed by the board and are subject to ratification or reversal. So the board could say, you know what, we appreciate it, we don't believe that's the case. Whatever reason.
And I would always hope, no matter who's sitting in your positions, who's sitting in my position, that you can have a good relationship to discuss it, because ultimately we're all making that decision affects the entire county. We should be making those decisions based on the betterment of the county, the welfare of the county, not our personal.
And unfortunately, it does allow for the politics to enter into it. Some politician could say, we're not going to impact the economy of our county, we're going to reject your fire ban.
And quite frankly, sometimes that might be a valid argument. I mean, it might be, because again, you look at it from a little different perspective than I do. As Kit said before, as he does. I mean, we all have a little bit different.
In coordination with the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District. So I think everything's in there. I mean, I think it's reasonable. And I'm all about streamlining the process.